Chapter 595. Su Yu's eyes flashed. I think we should make a deal first. As for how many disastrous thunders it can withstand, you can test it later. There were too many people here, and there were many experts. It was better to get the real dragon's blood first to avoid any trouble. Zi Qianqiu nodded his head slightly, then calmly stood between Gu Taishu and Su Yu with the other two divine masters. It was obvious that they were on guard. Gu Taishu's face darkened, but he did not attack. He just looked at Su Yu and memorized him. Su Yu could feel his murderous intent. It was not that Gu Taishu was afraid of killing Su Yu here, but that everyone believed that Su Yu would definitely return to the mysterious heavenly stage of Jiuzhou. Once he returned to Jiuzhou, with Gu Taishu's ability as a late-stage divine master, who would dare stop him from obtaining the real dragon's blood? Moreover, both he and the Red Blood Palace had an important task to complete. The real spirit divine egg that Divine Master Tu Mo had stolen. Whoever obtained the Divine Master Tu Mo's remains would obtain the real spirit divine egg. However, this person had not shown up yet. In other words, no one had obtained the Divine Master Tu Mo's remains. While everyone was silent, Su Yu and Gang Dalai exchanged. Holding the amber in his hand, Su Yu was excited as he looked at the fresh blood that was emitting a strange energy. He had obtained the undead herb of the netherworld and the real dragon's blood, two of the three main materials needed to cultivate the evil-destroying silver eyes. Only the lightning-avoiding silver pearl was left. Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He raised his head and saw Lu Qi, who had been standing behind Gu Taishu. She was standing sideways, showing off her exquisite and alluring figure. Her neck was as white as porcelain, and her facial features were dignified and beautiful. She looked sacred and inviolable. The cultivation of a god lord and the lofty demeanor he exuded made others look up to him. No one would believe that a half-fairy cultivator had occupied such a perfect puppet half a month ago. The puppet, as if sensing his gaze, Lu Qi's eyes flickered, but she did not turn to look at Su Yu. However, her slender fingers were tightly gripping the hem of her skirt, making it impossible for anyone to see what she was thinking. Su Yu felt a wave of guilt in his heart. She wasn't even willing to look at him? She looked at the man in front of her again. He was elegant, handsome, and had an amazing aptitude. This was the first person she had called her beloved after losing her virginity. Taishu. Gu Taishu. After letting out a silent sigh, Su Yu withdrew his gaze. The little Kailan at the side widened its eyes and stared at Lu Qi. It gestured excitedly with its hands, which meant that she looked exactly like it. It was only then that Su Yu realized that the little Kailan's form might cause Lu Qi to misunderstand and think that he still had improper thoughts about her. If he knew that Lu Qi had misunderstood him, he would be speechless. Taishu, half a day is almost up. The Vajra ring won't be able to hold on for much longer. Hurry up. At this moment, Yinyang Old Man looked up at the gap and gradually trembled. Gu Taishu nodded and looked around at the crowd coldly. Who else wants to exchange their items? If you do, do it as soon as possible. Upon hearing this, the three divine masters of the Red Blood Palace also became solemn. All right, whatever treasures you have obtained in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion, you can take them out and have a look. If there is anything we need, we will surely satisfy you, Zi Qianqiu said calmly. As he looked at the other divine masters, although their expressions didn't change, he could vaguely feel that the atmosphere had changed. Su Yu's eyes were filled with surprise. These 6 divine masters seemed to be waiting for something. All of a sudden, Su Yu was shocked. Could they have come for the little Kailan? Besides the little Kailan, what else could attract the attention of 6 divine masters at the same time? Could they be waiting for someone to take out the Divine Master Tu Mo's relic? As he thought of this, Su Yu secretly felt lucky. It was fortunate that Gu Taishu had forcefully interrupted him and prevented him from taking out the Divine Master Tu Mo's relic. Otherwise, the consequences would have been dire. After waiting for a moment, no one responded. At this moment, The Vajra ring started trembling even more. They didn't have much time left. None of you have it? Gu Taishu squinted his eyes. If that's the case, I'm sorry to inform all of you that there is something in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion that is extremely dangerous. You mustn't bring it back to the Jojo world. For the safety of Jojo, take out everything you have. If you have a spatial ring, open it and let us inspect it. What? The crowd was infuriated. Jojo's safety? All of them were geniuses from various regions, so they weren't stupid. It was obvious that they were trying to steal some precious treasure and wanted to search them by force. It was so blatant. How could the geniuses not be infuriated by such an act of humiliation? However, they weren't facing fairies, but divine masters. They were almighty divine masters who ruled over a region and commanded an entire faction. Any one of them could destroy all of them with a flick of their fingers. Su Yu's heart sank as a sense of crisis engulfed him. Divine Master Tu Mo's broken sword and cultivation technique were lying in Su Yu's spatial ring. Once they were searched, there was no way they could escape. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to recognize the broken sword and cultivation technique. However, since they had come prepared, they must have known about Divine Master Tu Mo's relics. Trying to bluff his way through was no different from a fool's dream. If Su Yu tried his luck, he would surely be exposed. At that time, the little Kylan would be snatched away, and Su Yu, who had signed a soul-related contract with the little Kylan, would surely suffer. There was only one way to terminate the contract, and that was through the death of the host. The situation had taken a turn for the worse, and Su Yu was now in grave danger. There weren't just 1 or 2 divine masters present, but 6 of them. Because they were just projections, they only had the power of fairies. However, there were still 6 of them. Regardless of how many tricks Su Yu had up his sleeves, it was impossible for him to fight against 6 of them alone. What Gu Taishu said makes sense. For the safety of Jojo, we have no choice but to wrong all of you. Zi Qianshou took advantage of the situation and targeted a group of people with the 3 divine masters. Next, it would be a fight between them and Gu Taishu. Whoever could find the person who had Divine Master Tu Mo's relics first would be able to find the real spirit divine egg. Gu Taishu frowned, but he had no time to stop them. Once the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion closed, they would all be transported back to the mysterious heavenly stage of Jojo. Then, they would have to face the criticism of the elders of the factions. That would add to the chaos. Old monster, you would most likely interfere. Buzz. At that moment, the elders of Jojo, who didn't know the truth, finally realized that something was amiss. They were shocked that the 6 divine masters were searching for an extremely important item behind their backs. They were furious that the item was most likely with their own faction's disciples. Their naked search was tantamount to trampling on their faction's dignity. Stop! Even though the other party was an almighty divine master, they couldn't just sit and wait for death. There were almighty divine masters in the factions they belonged to, so they didn't need to be too afraid of the almighty divine masters of the Purple Cloud Palace and the Red Blood Palace. The 2 palaces were nominally in charge of the remaining 16 factions, but their relationship was like that of a king and a king. Unless the highest commanders of the 2 palaces, Mo Tianxian and the true man of the Purple Cloud, came personally, the 16 factions didn't need to care about the other strong men of the 2 palaces. Immediately, a shadow descended to stop them. However, the Yinyang old man was already prepared. He weaved signs with one hand, and the Vajra ring suddenly emitted a golden light. The golden light filled the air and covered the gap. The descending shadow was forcefully repelled. The Yinyang old man had already planned for this to happen, so he had tampered with the Vajra ring in advance. Everyone, don't worry. We won't harm any of your disciples. As long as you cooperate with our inspection, you'll be safe, the Yinyang old man said in a hoarse voice. He weaved signs again, and the golden light became even more intense. Now, the mysterious heavenly stage of Jiuzhou could no longer see what was happening in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. The crowd was furious, and they glared fiercely at the 6 figures sitting cross-legged on the mysterious heavenly stage of Jiuzhou. They were the real bodies of the 6 almighty divine masters. Only their soul consciousnesses had descended, while their real bodies were protected by the later stage fairy realm guard. In fact, even if there were no guards, they wouldn't dare touch their physical bodies. Otherwise, if the Red Blood Palace and the Purple Cloud Palace investigated them, they would die no matter where they went. They were furious and anxious, but they didn't know what was about to happen in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion, nor did they know what kind of nature-defying item they were fighting over. While they were anxious, the 6 divine masters of the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion had already begun their search. The 900 people present were in a state of panic. Many of them were like Su Yu, and they all had secrets that they couldn't divulge. However, under the threat of the almighty divine masters, many of the disciples only felt humiliated. They were confident that they didn't have any dangerous items on them, so they weren't afraid of being searched. Su Yu's mind was racing, and he quickly thought of a countermeasure. He mustn't let them find him, as Divine Master Tu Mo's relics were on him. Moreover, there were too many tempting things in his space ring. The Great Sun Punishment Fairy Picture, the prototype fairy artifact 5 Elemental Strong Thunder Seal, the real Spirit Dragon Veins. Which one of them wasn't a treasure that would bring about a fatal disaster? At that moment, the 6 Divine Masters had already begun their search of the first group of people. Those who have been searched, leave this area immediately. You are not allowed to stay, Gu Taishu said coldly. His cold words caused Su Yu's heart to sink even more. Were they already prepared for someone to escape? 100 miles was just the right distance for them to lock on to with their souls. Their search was very fast, and they could easily determine whether a person had any hidden items on them with just a glance. You are courting death. Suddenly, a cold snort could be heard. It was Zi Qianqiu, who was inspecting a wandering disciple. He slapped the disciple's abdomen with his palm, and a small white gourd was shaken out of the disciple's mouth. The gourd was a spatial storage artifact. The disciple swallowed it into his stomach, but he still couldn't escape being inspected. Zi Qianqiu grabbed the ring and forcefully erased its owner's imprint. He then scanned it with his powerful soul and snorted coldly. Demon Yang Elixir? And demonic treasures? Humph! Why is the item of my demon faction's disciple in your hands? Are you the one who killed my demon faction's disciple? Zi Qianqiu didn't give the disciple a chance to speak. He waved his sleeves, and the wandering disciple was sent flying 100 meters away. The disciple screamed in pain as he fell from the divine sparrow stage. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. I will deal with you later. Next, Zi Qianqiu said coldly. Chapter 596. Some suspicious wandering martial artists were pulled out and knocked unconscious on the spot, awaiting punishment later. In just a few minutes, more than 100 people had been searched. As the crowd thinned, the possibility of escape became lower and lower. Su Yu's heart sank. This was his only option. Suddenly, a pitiful scream could be heard from the crowd. A silver-haired, white-robed figure had turned into a rain of blood, splattering everywhere. "Oh no, these divine masters are going to kill people!" someone in the crowd shouted in fear. The strange situation immediately attracted the attention of the 6 divine masters. Humph! Trying to create chaos? Zi Qianqiu's expression turned cold. He shook his sleeves, and a black whirlwind flew out from his sleeves, accurately landing on the spot where the person who had spoken had been. The voice stopped abruptly. Amidst the noisy crowd, no one heard the soft sound, and no one noticed a faintly discernible pink mist gradually disappearing. The panicked crowd did not care who had been killed. From the first person being killed to Zi Qianqiu's killing, the crowd, who had been relatively peaceful, began to panic. "Let's run!" Some wandering martial artists, who had been guilty, immediately added fuel to the fire. At that moment, the crowd became restless. The 800 or 900 people, who were in a state of panic, rushed out of the Divine Sparrow stage. Even the projections of the 6 Divine Masters could not stop such a huge crowd. "Whoever dares to move, I will kill them," Ziqiancho shouted angrily. "Run! These Divine Masters are going to kill people." Ziqiancho's threatening words had caused the crowd to panic even more. Ziqiancho's eyes flashed coldly, and he casually waved his hand to create another whirlwind, shattering the person who had spoken. Only a few people noticed that after the person who had spoken was shattered, he had turned into specks of light. That was a doppelganger created by someone who was pretending to be mysterious. In the crowd, Su Yu's expression was grave. This chaos had obviously been caused by his clone, so that he could take advantage of the situation. Su Yu had successfully left the Divine Sparrow stage by blending in with the crowd. He immediately left the crowd, choosing to escape alone. As expected, those god lords prioritized stopping the majority of the fleeing crowd. "You want to leave? Stay here." With an angry roar, a crack appeared between Gu Taishu's brows. A large amount of purple light shot out from the gap. The radiance was like a piece of cloth, blotting out the sun and covering 100 miles of the sky. After being illuminated by the purple light, all the cultivators within 100 miles felt as if their true qi and spiritual qi had been sealed. Many people were like birds that had lost their wings, falling from the sky and smashing into the ground, smashing into meat paste. For a time, there were countless casualties. Su Yu was also enveloped by the purple light, and his figure fell straight down at once. Even though the small Kylan had turned into an illusory body, it was still unable to resist the purple light. It was so scared that it started struggling around. Then, it grabbed Su Yu, and it hugged him tightly like a 4-clawed octopus, while it cried out unceasingly. What a terrifying purple light! It could even ignore the illusory body of the little Kylan and forcefully confine the spiritual energy and true qi. Seeing that he and the small Kylan were about to fall to their deaths, Su Yu activated all of the energy in his body. However, apart from his physical strength, he had no other power to borrow. They were only 100 feet from the ground. With their current falling speed, there was no doubt that they would be smashed into meat paste. Su Yu felt a great sense of crisis. At that moment, a strange energy suddenly appeared in his dantian. It was not vital energy or spiritual energy, but lightning. After sensing it, he found out that it was the crystal formed by the lightning in Su Yu's dantian. That day at the Thunder Emperor Mountain, Su Yu had accidentally discovered that a crystal formed by lightning had appeared in his dantian. Su Yu had treated it as a crystal to store lightning, so he had not paid much attention to it. He had not expected that even though his vital energy and spiritual energy had been sealed, only the lightning energy within the thunder crystal was not affected. Su Yu's eyes lit up. At that critical moment, he weaved signs with one hand. Sizzle! With a soft sound of thunder, Su Yu and the small Kylan's bodies were covered by a layer of lightning. The thunder escape technique had been activated. Just as their feet were about to touch the ground, they teleported away by a hair's breadth. On the Divine Sparrow stage, the crack between Gu Taishu's brows slowly closed. When the purple light disappeared, there was not a single person left in the sky. They had all fallen to the ground, smashed into meat paste. This move had killed more than 200 people at the same time. Those who had not lost their lives were heavily injured from the fall. The ground was littered with broken limbs, as well as internal organs hanging from the branches of the trees. It was a bloody sight. Many of the geniuses froze on the spot. They had all been shocked by this bloody method, and none of them dared to escape. The 3 divine masters of the Red Blood Palace wore grave expressions, while Ziqiancho's expression was even more unsightly. That purple light had even sealed his soul body. Gu Taishu's power was only known from the rumors. Before they had started fighting, Zi Qianqiu was still confident that the three of them could put up a fight. But now, he knew that they had no chance of winning against Gu Taishu. He was even more frightening than the rumors had said. Did one of them escape? It's still that lad. Gu Taishu looked in Su Yu's direction, his expression cold. Yinyang, go and capture that lad. He was the one who caused trouble just now. Gu Taishu instructed. Yinyang old man nodded. Junior brother, please wait for a moment. All of you continue searching here. I will also go and capture that lad. Zi Qianqiu's eyes flashed as he spoke. He certainly wouldn't allow Gu Taishu's people to capture Su Yu, as it was obvious that they wanted to take back the real dragon's blood from Su Yu. Gu Taishu frowned slightly. His gaze shifted and fell on Lu Chui. If that's the case, here you go. Yinyang old man's eyes were more adept at communicating with the spirits of the dead in the world, so they could be considered as support. In terms of combat power, Lu Chui was still a notch higher. Yes, senior brother. Lu Chui nodded and bit her lip slightly. It belonged to the person she did not want to face the most. Ever since she had descended, Su Yu had always been in front of her, but she had never looked at him face to face. However, she had to obey her senior brother's orders. She was the only one present who could deal with Zi Qianqiu. Without looking at Zi Qianqiu, Lu Chui spun an ancient golden bamboo in her palm. It was the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. As he infused his vital energy into the heavenly orchid silver bamboo, the space attribute was activated. It engulfed Lu Chui and disappeared. At the same time, Zi Qianqiu also released a whirlwind from his sleeves, which brought him away from this place at an astonishing speed. How amazing was the heavenly orchid silver bamboo's spatial attribute! In just a few breaths, Lu Chui had caught up with him. 30,000 miles away, golden light filled the air. Lu Chui's beautiful figure flickered, and her beautiful eyes swept over the rocks on the ground. There was a faint remnant of lightning there, which was a sign that she had used the thunder escape technique. You are still as alert as ever. Did you escape immediately after using the thunder escape technique? However, I won't let you escape so easily. Lu Chui locked onto a certain direction, and with a flicker of golden light, she disappeared once again. After a short while, Zi Qianqiu, who had chased after Su Yu all the way here, revealed a meaningful smile. Lad, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. As he spoke, his figure flickered and he flew away. After half a cup of tea's time, in a dense forest, Zi Qianqiu landed in an underground karst cave. He held a gourd in his hand, which contained the disastrous thunders. All right, come out. Zi Qianqiu landed and said calmly, I know that Divine Master Tu Mo's relic is in your hands. A ripple of spiritual energy came from the underground karst cave, along with Su Yu's deep voice. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Zi Qianqiu chuckled. Now that things have come to this, is there still a need to hide it? The people of the Soul-Seizing Palace were sent to look for Divine Master Tu Mo's relic, and they already knew where it was. However, you killed them all. So, if there is anyone who is most likely to have obtained Divine Master Tu Mo's relic, it can only be you. So, you already knew that I had taken Divine Master Tu Mo's relic, but you pretended not to know? Su Yu thought to himself. Zi Qianqiu landed on the ground and stomped his foot on it. In an instant, the ground split open and revealed the lava that had been hidden underground. Of course, in order to not attract Gu Taishu's attention, I had no choice but to use this method. I pretended that I didn't know anything and even helped you obtain the blood of the real dragon. I didn't expect that you would actually think of a way to escape from the Divine Sparrow stage. This saved me a lot of trouble. If I had found the relic on the Divine Sparrow stage, I would have had to deal with him. Su Yu's tone became even deeper. One last question. How did you find me? Along the way, I already cleared all traces of the thunderbolts nearby. Isn't that simple? You used the disastrous thunder in my gourd. When you were unprepared, I sent a thread of disastrous thunder into your body. The disastrous thunder could sense each other, so did you think that it would take me any effort to find you? Suyu suddenly understood. I see. Thank you for telling me. Eh? What do you mean? Qianqiu felt that something was amiss. A ball of light rushed out of the cave, revealing a crimson figure. A clone? Qianqiu's expression sank. The crimson clone reached into his body and took out a purple thunderbolt, which was as thin as a strand of hair. He smiled. Is this the thunderbolt? Creak. With 2 fingers, the clone destroyed the thunderbolt. He then turned into a ball of light and disappeared from his original position. This lad was already on guard against me. Qianqiu's eyes shone with a cold light. Why did Suyu's clone carry that thunderbolt? It was not a coincidence. Suyu had already detected the hidden thunderbolt within his body. Damn it! Qianqiu was furious. He had actually been fooled by such a low-level trick. The reason for this was that he had underestimated Suyu, hundreds of thousands of miles away. At the place where Suyu had first used the thunder escape technique, the giant boulder suddenly started tumbling. Then, 2 figures appeared from beneath the boulder. They were Suyu and the little Kylan. Hee hee, you wanted to follow me with such little tricks? Suyu chuckled. It turned out that he had never left after using the thunder escape technique. Instead, he had released his clone and taken the disastrous thunderbolt away. Just as I expected, they were really looking for the Divine Master Tumo's remains. Or rather, they were looking for the little Kylan. Squeak! Squeak! The little Kylan's face was filled with excitement as it gestured with its hands. It completely treated this life and death escape as a fun game. Suyu was annoyed. While you were playing a game, I was risking my life. As he spoke, he rubbed the little Kylan's head. Thank you for what you did just now. Without the little Kylan in the crowd, Suyu would not have been able to start the escape so easily. The little Kylan really liked being rubbed like this. It squinted its eyes and laughed as it rubbed its head against Suyu's chest. Get your dirty hands off me. Chapter 597. Suyu's whole body stiffened, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He was all too familiar with this voice. Suyu's feelings were extremely complicated. The beautiful figure standing silently behind him had a dignified and beautiful face with a noble and inviolable temperament, as well as a pair of eyes that were as clear and cold as the deep winter snow. Who else could it be other than Lu Chuyi? At this moment, her eyes were cold, and she was staring at Suyu and the little Kylan with an unfriendly expression. Shameless! Lu Chuyi's face turned red, not knowing whether it was out of anger or embarrassment. Suyu had just realized that the little Kylan was a teenage version of Lu Chuyi. Suyu's intimate actions would surely be misunderstood as his lust for her. Suyu was speechless, and he could only smile bitterly. How could this be? What's wrong with her? I will give you a chance to explain yourself. Lu Chuyi raised her brows and pointed at the little Kylan, her tone somewhat reproachful. Suyu was speechless, but this misunderstanding really needed to be resolved. Chuyi, actually. Perhaps it was because he had been with the teenage version of Lu Chuyi for too long, but facing the real Lu Chuyi, Suyu could not get used to it, so he called her an affectionate name. Lu Chuyi had a strange feeling in her heart. The last time they had met, Suyu had still called her senior. It had only been a short time, but he was already calling her name. Looking at Suyu's hesitant expression, Lu Chuyi thought that this was most likely the case. Suyu could not forget her, so perhaps he had fallen in love with her. Alright, don't say any more. I understand your feelings. Lu Chuyi interrupted Suyu, her emotions complicated. Suyu opened his mouth. I haven't said anything yet. What do you understand? Your feelings for me are no longer a burden. Lu Chuyi looked at the little Kylan, her expression one of understanding. But there is no possibility between us. I have someone I love, and you have your own future. What happened between us you have to forget. You must also forget me. Suyu felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The little Kylan had transformed into a teenage girl, and Lu Chuyi had actually thought that he had fallen in love with her. Chuyi, wait, I actually. Lu Chuyi interrupted him, her eyes filled with determination. Don't say any more, I don't want to hear it. Just remember what I said and forget me. This is an order. Suyu was anxious. Chuyi, I actually. Say no more. Lu Chuyi looked a little annoyed. She scolded, what else do you want to say now? I've already made myself very clear. I already have someone I like. There's no possibility between us. Suyu was going crazy. Lu Chuyi felt that Suyu was too stubborn, and that he was still unwilling to give up. Her face tensed up and became ice cold. I will say it one last time. You are not allowed to like me. Otherwise I will kill you. Humph. Lu Chuyi snorted and turned to leave. Suyu finally got a chance to speak. Chuyi, you misunderstood me. I don't like you. Lu Chuyi, who had just turned around, suddenly froze. She slowly turned her head back. Her snow-white face was like a rainbow in the sky, and all kinds of expressions appeared at the same time. You. What did he say? Lu Chuyi asked with difficulty. She suddenly realized that she might have misunderstood from the beginning. Suyu revealed a faint smile and took off his bamboo hat, revealing his handsome face. In the cool breeze, her long silver hair fluttered in the wind. Together with her smile, she looked like a fairy, like a poem or a dream. Suyu opened his mouth and said sincerely, I have someone I like. You have misunderstood me. She is my spiritual pet, and it transformed on its own. Hearing this, the little Kylan nodded its head, its big eyes sizing up Lu Chuyi curiously. When it saw the expression on her face, it revealed a doubtful expression. It seemed to be wondering why this woman, who looked exactly like it, had so many strange colors on her face. Lu Chuyi felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Her snow-white face blushed, and the blush spread to her ears, then to her cheeks, and finally to her neck. It was as if she was wearing a red veil. It was extremely mesmerizing. She had misunderstood. How was Suyu in love with her? It was clearly her wishful thinking. Thinking back to how she had asked him to forget about her and not to like her, Lu Chuyi felt that Suyu had played a malicious joke on her. At this moment, she wished she could find a hole to hide in. Shyness filled her heart, and it kept accumulating. Finally, it turned into anger. Are you saying that you don't like me, and that you like someone else? Lu Chuyi lowered her head. Her beautiful hair covered her face, and her expression could not be seen. Suyu, who looked like a handsome youth in the wind, smiled. You finally understand. Your worries were unnecessary. Lu Chuyi was silent, and her shoulders started to tremble. Suyu was shocked. Is she crying? Someone else. Someone else. Someone else. Lu Chuyi raised her head suddenly, her snow-white eyes filled with flames of anger. Her whole body was in a violent rage. Suyu was startled. He had been wrong. Her shoulders trembled, and sometimes it was not because she was crying, but because she was angry. I will kill you. Lu Chuyi did not understand why she was so angry. She was ashamed, angry, and wronged. Sizzle! The golden heavenly orchid silver bamboo appeared in her hand. She waved it in the air, and a golden fox emitted the power of space, cutting everything in its path. Suyu's eyelids twitched. Ever since the demon had opened a gap in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion, the rules that restricted the fairy realm seemed to have been broken. If this strike landed, even if he did not die, he would at least be half dead. Suyu, who was as beautiful as a handsome youth in the wind, did not dare to stay. He put on his bamboo hat, turned around, and used the thunder escape to escape. He asked in confusion, "What's wrong with you? I had feelings for you, but you said you would kill me. Now I say I have no feelings for you, but you still want to kill me. What are you trying to do?" His words were obviously adding fuel to the fire. I will kill you, be **starred. Lu Chuyi was even angrier when she heard this. She used the power of space to chase after Suyu. Lu Chuyi's attacks were ruthless, and Su Yu was constantly in danger. He could not help but be slightly angry. Crazy woman! This is ridiculous! His guilt towards Lu Chuyi had been greatly reduced by her mindless pursuit. Yes, I must be crazy to have let you go in the past. Now I regret it. I will kill you. With a flash of golden light, Lu Chuyi caught up with Su Yu. Damn it! What is going on? Su Yu was confused. I am not afraid of you. Since he could not escape, Su Yu clenched his teeth and faced her head-on. The blue pearl in the dry cloud 5 elemental formation flickered, and a blue light screen appeared as it was infused with vital energy. Dong! The heavenly orchid silver bamboo attacked the blue light screen, causing it to shake violently. You still dare to attack me? Lu Chuyi was even angrier. She recalled the unforgettable snowy night in the Ice Soul Divine Dream formation. Su Yu had never left her, but now he was attacking her. She felt wronged. After losing her virginity to him, he no longer felt pity for her? She was so angry that she did not think. She was about to kill Su Yu. If he did not retaliate, would he just sit there and wait to be killed? Break! I will kill you! Lu Chuyi, who was even angrier, attacked without any hesitation. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo flickered with a golden light, and the shaking blue light screen shattered. Su Yu was shocked. This light screen should have been easily blocked by someone at the early stage of the fairy realm, but it had been broken by Lu Chuyi, whose cultivation had been suppressed to the early stage of the fairy realm. This woman's battle prowess was extremely powerful. Without any obstruction, the silver bamboo in Lu Chuyi's palm flew toward Su Yu. At such a critical moment, Su Yu's space ring flickered with a blue light, and with a spin, it appeared on Su Yu's chest. At this moment, the heavenly orchid silver bamboo attacked, but the green light ball bounced the heavenly orchid silver bamboo back. The blue light ball in front of Su Yu's chest dimmed, and its true form was revealed. It was a blue ruler. Its whole body was carved with strange symbols, and it looked extremely mysterious. This was the mysterious Heavenly Divine Pavilion's Guardian's Legacy Saint artifact, a middle-grade spiritual artifact, the 6th directional ruler. Die! Lu Chuyi seemed to have gone crazy. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo flickered, and with the use of space power, it disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, it suddenly appeared behind Su Yu. However, the 6th directional ruler seemed to be able to predict the next attack's location, as it returned to Su Yu's back and repelled the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. With a flash of a golden light, the heavenly orchid silver bamboo teleported to its next location. Strangely, the 6th directional ruler once again predicted the opponent's location and went to defend it. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo was repelled once again. Then, the heavenly orchid silver bamboo teleported again, while the 6th directional ruler predicted the next attack. Su Yu's body flickered with golden and blue light continuously. No matter how tricky the heavenly orchid silver bamboo's attacks were, they were all predicted by the 6th directional ruler and blocked in advance. After all, the 6th directional ruler contained Tianjizi's divine decree's trajectory. It could predict the opponent's attack trajectory, and it was impeccable. Good. I haven't seen you for a few days, and you've already obtained a new treasure. I don't believe that I can't deal with you. Lu Chuyi was getting angrier and angrier. However, before she could attack, Su Yu said coldly, "Enough. This is the end." As he spoke, he waved his hand, and the dry cloud 5 elemental formation spread out, trapping Lu Chuyi and Yifeng within a Tenjiang radius. "It's this formation again. You can't trap me." Lu Chuyi coldly snorted, as her slender palm streaked across the sky. A golden arc of light flickered, and it tore apart the dry cloud 5 elemental formation's light screen. Su Yu wasn't surprised, as the vital energy of a single vital energy crystal wasn't enough to fully utilize the dry cloud 5 elemental formation's power. It would be able to trap an early-stage fairy, but it wouldn't be effective against someone as powerful as Lu Chuyi. Humph! A large number of black threads flew out of Su Yu's sleeves. They were as thin as long hair, and they emitted a mysterious light. As the black threads flew out, they coiled around Lu Chui, who was within the dry cloud 5 elemental formation. Open! As Lu Chui snorted, several golden leaves flew out of her bosom. They were the heavenly orchid silver bamboo leaves. Not only did these leaves contain space power, but they were also extremely sharp and tough. Sizzle! As they spun in the air, 3 bamboo leaves streaked across the light screen, creating a 10-zhang-long fissure. After turning around once, they turned into a golden remnant thread, which cut through the black thread. Wherever the golden remnant thread passed, a black fissure was created in the space. Buzz! However, the shocking thing was that the black threads didn't break. They were only slightly bent by the golden leaves' power. Soon after, they bounced off the golden leaves with a shocking rebounding force. Impossible! Lu Chui was shocked. With the sharpness of the heavenly orchid silver bamboo leaves, even a top-grade spiritual artifact would leave a mark on it, much less a middle-grade spiritual artifact. Shockingly, the inconspicuous black threads had bounced off the bamboo leaves without suffering any damage. How could she know that this was a treasure left behind by Elder Tianjizi, the real spirit dragon's tendon? If she recovered her divine master cultivation level, she should be able to deal with it. However, her current cultivation level was suppressed to the fairy realm, which was far from enough. As she cried out in alarm, the true spirit dragon tendons descended. They were as thin as hair and tightly wrapped around her. Her legs were tightly bound, and her hands were tied behind her back. Only the area above her neck was unrestrained. Open! The bound Lu Chui was shocked, struggling to free herself from the dragon tendon. But the more she struggled, the tighter the tendon became. In the midst of her struggle, Lu Chui lost her balance and fell face first. Thud! Her beautiful and dignified face made intimate contact with the ground. Her nostrils flared, and her beautiful face was stained with dust. Even so, it didn't diminish her beauty. Let me go! Lu Chui raised her head. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she looked at Su Yu with hatred. She clenched her teeth, her words cold. Meeting her hateful gaze, Su Yu's heart shuddered, and he felt a sense of loss. He had wanted to compensate Lu Chui for what he owed her. Lu Chui seemed to have forgiven him, but the situation had developed to this point. Waving his sleeves, Su Yu put away the dry cloud 5 elemental formation. Looking at the bound Lu Chui, he suddenly felt dispirited. Fine, I owe you my innocence. Once I have resolved this matter, I will give you an explanation. Now I can't give you my life. Su Yu untied the real spirit dragon's tendon and released her. Lu Chui was stunned. She hadn't expected Su Yu to say such a thing. She had gradually calmed down, and hearing the helplessness in Su Yu's words, her mood became even gloomier. It's as if I'm forcing you to die. Lu Chui silently waited for Su Yu to untie the dragon's tendon. Looking at his face, which was just inches away from her, so solemn and so unfamiliar. After this matter, their relationship would become even more distant, even more indifferent, even more unfamiliar. In the snowy night, the light in the small house, the scene of them sleeping in each other's arms, was quickly fading away from her. They could never return to the way they were before, could they? An indistinct pain rippled in the depths of her heart. When she was in trouble, when she had fallen from a divine master to a mortal, when she had been helpless, it had been an ordinary youth who had used an ordinary heart and an ordinary embrace to give her an extraordinary night. It was an extraordinary snowy night, and it was an extraordinary memory. These experiences weren't deep, but as she felt them fade away, she realized how precious they were. She knew that she was about to lose that gentle, smiling youth. She was about to lose something that she could never get back. After this farewell, they would never be able to return to the way they were before. Anxious, Lu Chui struggled for a moment, but she couldn't give up. Gathering her courage, she said, "Actually," Su Yu paused, looking at Lu Chui, waiting for her to finish. When she met Su Yu's unfamiliar eyes, Lu Chi suddenly felt desolate, and her heart felt empty. She stopped explaining and sighed softly. "It's nothing. Let go of me. You can go your way, and I'll go mine." Then, what she wanted to say was that from now on, they would go their separate ways, never to be linked again. However, those words were so heavy that she couldn't bring herself to say them. Swoosh! Right at that moment, a black air current suddenly shot out from the ground beneath their feet, biting towards Su Yu. The black air current contained a terrifying poison. The ground was melted into black mud. If a human's body came into contact with it, they would definitely die. This thing had appeared so suddenly and without any warning, neither Su Yu nor Lu Chi had noticed it. Now it was too late to hide, and Su Yu didn't even have the chance to take out his magical treasure. His heart skipped a beat, and the feeling of death engulfed him. He had been careless. He had forgotten about the other person, Ziqianqiu. After he had been deceived, he had guessed that Su Yu was hiding in the place where he had first used the lightning escape. Now, he was going to give Su Yu a fatal blow. The defenseless Su Yu's heart gradually sank, and there was only one thought left in his mind. Chapter 598. Creak. The sound of space being torn apart could be heard without any warning. At such a critical moment, Su Yu's body was engulfed by a golden light as he teleported 30 feet away. The black air brushed past the golden light as it shot into the sky. The roof of the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion was now pitch black, as if it was being corroded. Su Yu was still in shock, so he immediately infused his vital energy into the six-directional ruler to activate it. Then, he looked at Lu Chi. Swoosh! A golden leaf spun under Su Yu's feet and flew back to Lu Chi's slender palm. She calmly retrieved the golden bamboo leaf, her bright eyes flickering with a strange light. She turned her head away, as if she did not want to meet Su Yu's gaze. Then, she calmly said, "You can only die by my hands." Su Yu was startled. Is that really the case? Opposite them, a mass of demonic fog was wriggling and slowly emerging from the ground. A black-robed figure, with his hands hidden in his sleeves, walked out of the demonic fog in a mysterious manner. "Hee, I was surprised that you would block an attack for him." A hoarse voice came from the figure's mouth. Lu Chi played with her hair and asked, "Have you finally realized that you have been tricked, Ziqianqiu?" "I admit that I have underestimated this lad's cunning." The black-robed figure was undoubtedly Ziqianqiu. He glanced at Su Yu with a cold look in his eyes. "Cunning? Yes, he is indeed cunning. That's right. If I didn't know him well, I would have been tricked into chasing after his doppelganger, just like you." Lu Chi agreed with this point. From their experience together, Su Yu was not only powerful, but also meticulous. He was not easy to deal with. Su Yu laughed bitterly. No matter how cunning he was, Lu Chi had seen through him long ago. However, with your status, using a sneak attack was unexpected. Lu Chi played with the heavenly orchid silver bamboo in her palm. With his cultivation, you did not need to use a sneak attack. In fact, you wanted to sneak attack me, didn't you? As she spoke, Lu Chi abruptly struck the ground under her feet. With a rumbling sound, the ground under her feet cracked open. The black demonic energy, which was 10 times more powerful than the one that had attacked Su Yu, suddenly appeared and was destroyed by the golden light. That mouthful of black devil chi was just a diversion. Ziqianqiu sucked in a deep breath, and his smile gradually disappeared. You are indeed difficult to deal with. Why would he need to use a sneak attack to deal with Su Yu? He had intended to launch a sneak attack on Lu Chi, but his plan had been easily seen through and neutralized. I will search him. Step down. Lu Chi stepped forward and stood between Ziqianqiu and Su Yu. Lu Chi's aura was very strong. She looked valiant and magnificent. I'm afraid it's not up to you. Ziqianqiu was determined to win. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo in Lu Chi's palm spun and shone with golden light, making her beautiful and calm face look sacred and inviolable. "You can't do anything to me." As a proud daughter of the 18 blessed and heavenly lands, her strength was something that many of the older generation could only marvel at. "Hee, of course, it is difficult for me to be alone, but who told you that I am alone?" Zi Qianzhou smiled mysteriously, and a human-shaped puppet flew out from his bosom. Su Yu had seen that puppet before, as Shangguan Wan'er had used it more than once. What was different was that this wooden puppet was not carved in Mo Tianxuan's likeness, but in the likeness of an unfamiliar person. "Inspector Hong Luan? Is this the wooden puppet that sealed a strand of her soul?" Lu Chui recognized the person at first glance and was shocked. Zi Qianzhou laughed coldly. "It seems like you also know about the existence of the inspector. If you don't want your soul to be injured, leave immediately. Inspector Hong Luan's soul, even if it is just a strand, is not something you can handle." "Inspector Hong Luan? Who?" Lu Chui looked hesitant, as she was very afraid of the puppet. "Your purple cloud palace is wavering and has yet to submit to that lord. He has sent inspectors to be stationed in the 18 blessed and heavenly lands for a long time to monitor your purple cloud palace, as well as the factions under its jurisdiction. In such a place, if you summon her soul, do you think she will show mercy to you? If she injures your soul then, don't blame me for not giving you a chance." Su Yu looked on coldly from the side. A strand of Inspector Hong Luan's soul could consign Lu Chui to eternal damnation. Without a doubt, she was a supreme existence that surpassed the Divine Master. An all-creation old monster. Mo Tianxian, the true man of the purple cloud, and Inspector Hong Luan were the three all-creation old monsters of the 18 blessed and heavenly lands. After struggling for a while, Lu Chui slowly retreated. She looked at Su Yu with a complicated expression, her eyes filled with a cold light. "You, take care of yourself." Turning her head, Lu Chui's body shone with a golden light as she teleported away. As soon as she left, she looked back. Su Yu's figure became more and more blurry in her beautiful eyes. In the yin-yang formation, she had once put Su Yu in danger for her own sake. Now that he was in danger, she had once again abandoned him and left. She knew that there was no longer any friendship between them. Perhaps this was their fate. Regardless of whether Zi Qianzhou came or not, they would never have anything to do with each other again. Slowly closing her eyes, Lu Chui's heart was filled with bitterness. Moreover, when she looked back, Su Yu was also looking at her. When their eyes met, Lu Chui could not see any surprise, disappointment, or emotion in his eyes. It was as if Su Yu had already expected Lu Chui to make such a choice. His unfamiliar gaze made Lu Chui feel very uncomfortable. At that moment, the power of space engulfed her and took her away, disappearing without a trace. She had abandoned Su Yu, along with the past that she had cherished so much. Holding the puppet in his hand, Zi Qianzhou was slightly disappointed. She ran away quickly. If I could take this chance to injure her soul, I would be able to cut off her path of cultivation. If one's soul was injured, their path of cultivation would become extremely difficult. The Purple Cloud Palace already had Gu Taishu, who only appeared once in 1,000 years. It would be great if they could take this chance to get rid of a genius like Lu Chui. "Lad, hand it over. You know what I want." Zi Qianzhou's black shadow flickered as he strode toward Su Yu. At this moment, Su Yu was the only one facing this almighty divine master. Su Yu stared at the puppet in fear. Zi Qianzhou's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the fairy realm. If Su Yu fought him to the death, he might be able to survive. However, the puppet posed a real threat to Su Yu's soul. Lu Chui's decision to retreat was definitely a wise one. Zi Qianzhou could fight her, but the puppet could not. Without hesitation, Su Yu's body surged with lightning as he used the thunder escape technique. However, the teleportation did not take place. A faintly discernible binding power locked down the surrounding space. When he looked back, He saw that the puppet in Zi Qianzhou's hand had already been activated and was emitting a faint blue light. From afar, the puppet looked like a blue crystal doll, which was extremely beautiful. You want to escape? Is that even possible? The blue puppet had only emitted a faint light, but it had already locked down the surrounding space. With Su Yu's current cultivation, he would not be able to break through the seal and escape. Wow! At this moment, the small Kylan suddenly cried out as it patted the space in front of it in surprise. A ball of misty blue light was revolving around it. The small Kylan, which had taken on a human form, gradually revealed its true form under the illumination of the blue light. The pink Kylan, which was the size of a palm, was faintly discernible. The blue light emitted by the puppet not only had the effect of binding, but it also had the effect of breaking through the void. Within a radius of 100 miles, any enemy's disguise or concealment technique would be broken through. The small Kylan's disguise was unexpectedly broken through by the puppet, revealing its true form. A young immortal spirit. Zi Qianzhou was shocked. It has already hatched. Apart from being shocked, Zi Qianzhou was also overjoyed. His eyes were filled with excitement as he said, "Even the heavens are helping me. If I bring this object to you, it will surely be a great achievement." Absorb. As Zi Qianzhou activated his vital energy into the puppet, the blue light surrounding the small Kylan became even more intense. Two illusory palms stretched out from the blue light and tried to grab the small Kylan. The small Kylan furrowed its nose angrily as it stomped on the air with its four hooves. Its small body then turned from solid to intangible. It raised its head and flew back into Su Yu's palm proudly. However, what was even more shocking was that the blue palm was actually grabbing the small Kylan's back hoof. In fact, it was exactly the same as the divine light between Gu Taishu's brows. The small Kylan panicked as it struggled to break free from Su Yu's grasp. However, the blue palm grabbed the small Kylan and flew towards Zi Qianzhou. Su Yu's face darkened. The small Kylan had helped him many times without asking for anything in return. It could be said that Su Yu owed it many favors. So, how could he just watch as it was snatched away? Chapter 599. He grabbed the small Kylan with one hand and formed a seal with the other. A chain made of demonic energy shot out of his sleeves and lashed out at Su Yu. Humph! Su Yu snorted coldly. A green light flickered in front of him as the ruler was activated. It had predicted the chain's attack in advance and blocked it. A middle-grade spiritual artifact? Lad, you have many treasures on you. Fine, I'll kill you and search you thoroughly to see what's so strange about you. Zi Qianzhou was delighted. Creak. Another 3 chains shot out of his sleeves. The 4 chains attacked at the same time, choosing different directions. Although the ruler's prediction ability was powerful, its weakness was that it was only effective against a single attack. One of the chains was blocked, but the other 3 managed to break through and attack Su Yu's body. Creak. Suddenly, a black light flickered on Su Yu's body, and the Eternal Stone King armor appeared on his body. At the same time, he took out a crystal and embedded it into the armor. After a long time, the Eternal Stone King armor finally embedded the crystal again. The zhenqi in the crystal was absorbed by the Eternal Stone King armor like a whale sucking in air, forming an indistinct membrane on its surface. However, the crystal immediately turned into powder. The broken red crystal had been used 3 times, but the intact one had only been used once. Su Yu realized that the red crystal was not an ordinary crystal. He didn't have time to think about it, so he moved his shoulder and dodged another chain. However, he couldn't dodge the other 2. Bang! The chains hit the light screen, and Su Yu felt as if a huge mountain had been thrown at him. The oppressive force was acting on Su Yu's body through the armor, making it difficult for him to breathe. Fortunately, the light screen couldn't be penetrated, and the 2 chains bounced back. A semi-manufactured spiritual artifact. No, it's a broken high-grade spiritual artifact defensive armor. Zi Qianqiu was shocked once again, and his eyes shone with greed. Very good. I'm getting more and more interested in you. Using the chain's power, Su Yu quickly chased after it like an arrow that had left a bow, then grabbed the small Kylin. At the same time, a golden light flickered in his sleeves, and a small golden sword appeared, cutting the blue palm in half. The small Kylin had just calmed down from its fright, so it pounced into Su Yu's bosom, rubbed its head against it, then went into the 9 jade spiritual pearl to take refuge. You have another dimension? Zi Qianqiu became anxious. Fine, after I kill you, everything will be mine. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Su Yu snorted coldly, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Zi Qianqiu laughed and said, You are indeed interesting. You dare to challenge me with just a few treasures? Zi Qianqiu's demonic aura surged out of his body like a raging flame. That majestic aura and boundless pressure were not something that an early-stage fairy could compare to. After all, he was a divine master, and even though he was just a projection, he was still much stronger than ordinary early-stage fairies. Fortunately, it was only a projection. Although its aura was strong, its power was not even 1% of the real body's. Really? I am curious as to where a soul body gets the confidence to clamor in front of me. Su Yu said coldly, white flames dancing in his eyes. This flame was hard to see with the naked eye, and could only be seen by the soul state. Zi Qianqiu, who was just about to kill Su Yu, suddenly felt a strange heat. When he looked at it subconsciously, he was shocked. A soul flame. Moreover, it was a flame that could burn the soul of an early-stage fairy. His projection was only a part of his soul, so it was not much stronger than an early-stage fairy's soul. This kind of flame was the perfect counter to him. How dare you? Zi Qianqiu stared at Su Yu. You have already tried to kill my people and search my treasures. So, do you think that I won't dare? Su Yu sneered as he shot out the soul flame. The white flame ignored the space around it and immediately burned Zi Qianqiu's body. Even though he was a soul body, his soul was still being burned. Ah! Zi Qianqiu cried out in pain as he hurriedly revolved his demonic energy to extinguish the flame. However, no matter how much his demonic energy surged, it was useless against the soul flame. As Zi Qianqiu screamed miserably, a layer of his soul was burned away, and his body became thinner. His soul had already suffered substantial damage. Ah! Little bastard, I will make you die a horrible death! Zi Qianqiu shouted angrily as he screamed miserably. A dignified divine master had unexpectedly been injured by a small fry. Zi Qianqiu had no choice but to channel a large amount of vital energy into the puppet in his palm when he saw that the flames were still burning and that the puppet was about to be extinguished. Buzz! Buzz! The blue light was like a tangible ripple, radiating from the doll in all directions. The sky was still the sky and the earth was still the earth. However, as the blue light enveloped the entire space, it started to crystallize. Starting from 100 miles away, it started to crystallize inwards. The forest, mountains, grass, and trees had all turned into blue crystals. Su Yu saw the flying beasts turn into crystals and freeze in the air. Their eyes were filled with fear, as their life force had been completely devoured by the crystallization. Su Yu saw the beasts on the ground, who were fleeing for their lives, being overtaken by the crystallization and turned into a vivid blue crystal statue. After the blue puppet activated everything, the 100 miles around it started to turn into a giant crystal. All of the living beings within it were killed. In just a few breaths' time, everything around Su Yu had turned into blue crystals. Master Hong Luan's technique, Blue Death. Even an all-creation old monster might be frozen to death. I really want to see who can save you today. Zi Qianqiu held the puppet in his hand, while the crystallization went around him and surged toward Su Yu. The blue crystals condensed quickly, and soon, there was only 10 miles of space left around Su Yu. Su Yu's expression was grave, as he faced the crystallization. He felt as if he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. He couldn't even muster up any thoughts of resisting. Was this an all-creation old monster's technique? It was mighty and unstoppable. In an instant, only 3 miles remained of the 10 miles. A thin layer of blue crystals started to condense on the surface of Su Yu's skin. Beneath his invisible skin, his blood vessels, flesh, and blood started to crystallize. His life force was quickly draining away. Even if the crystallization didn't attack him, it would still be able to take Su Yu's life from 3 miles away. Could it be that he really had to stop here? His pupils reflected the white clouds, as well as the distant horizon. 2 beautiful figures and 2 faces flashed across his mind, turning into memories that couldn't be erased. I mustn't die. At the last moment of crystallization, Su Yu suddenly had a rebellious thought. He still hadn't had the time to marry Xiener and complete their wedding, which had been interrupted. He still hadn't had the time to take another look at Xia Jingyu and bid her farewell. He mustn't die. Celestial Punishment Picture. Open. At the last moment, Su Yu's crystallized arm suddenly had the strength to take out the Great Sun Punishment Fairy picture. At the last moment of crystallization, a wisp of vital energy entered the picture. Chapter 600. As the ancient scroll was opened, the black disastrous flame started burning the world. The blue crystal melted like snow, turning into a blue mist that slowly faded away. The 10 miles around Su Yu's body became a vacuum. The blue crystal in Su Yu's body also stopped spreading. A fairy-level cultivation technique. Zi Qianzhou's pupils contracted in shock. He retreated without hesitation, not daring to come into contact with the disastrous flame. If his real body was here, he wouldn't have to fear the disastrous flame. However, he was just a soul body, so even touching it would cause him to turn into ashes. This tribulation flame was much more terrifying than the soul flame from before. After retreating for 10 miles, Zi Qianzhou finally calmed down and started sizing Su Yu up for the first time. This lad was already difficult to deal with. Fortunately, most of the vital energy in his body had been sealed by the crystal, so he could only use less than 10% of his fairy-level cultivation technique. Otherwise, he would have been in great danger. Su Yu was trying his best to stop the crystal from spreading, so it was the best time to kill him. Good. Very good. Soul Flame, fairy-level cultivation technique. I don't care who you are or what your status is, but no one can save you today. Zi Qianzhou's killing intent sword. Swoosh. Zi Qianzhou threw the blue puppet into the air, and it shattered with a loud roar. At the same time, the entire crystallized world within a radius of 50 kilometers also shattered. Mountains, grass, fish, birds, and beasts, everything that had been turned into crystals started disintegrating along with the puppet. Mountains were shattered, turning into countless fragments of different sizes. Birds and beasts were shattered, and the crystallized corpses were split apart. From the outside to the inside, it was still incomparably fatal, and it was still unstoppable. The crystal that had frozen Su Yu's internal energy channels and flesh started cracking. He was about to turn into a crystal and disappear. He had tried his best. Su Yu sighed in his heart and slowly closed his eyes. However, just as he was about to fall into darkness, a familiar golden light lit up the world of darkness. The golden light and the beautiful figure caused Su Yu to open his eyes once again. His heart was filled with shock, but soon after, a smile appeared on his face. She was still the same person. The golden light engulfed the world and enveloped Su Yu. At the last moment, he was teleported away from the crystallized world. Su Yu could vaguely hear Zi Qianzhou's shocked and angry voice. Lu Chuyi. Yes, she came back at the last moment. It was clearly more dangerous now. He had chosen to give up. He could have chosen not to come. But she still came. As the world spun, the scenery around Su Yu changed. The only thing that didn't change was the beautiful figure holding onto his arm. In the golden light, she looked heroic. When their feet touched the ground, they were already standing 100 miles away. This place was a charred wasteland. Coincidentally, it was the wasteland where Su Yu had fought a great battle with the demon. "Thank you." Su Yu smiled. Lu Chuyi only showed Su Yu her back. She did not turn her head around. "You don't need to be so proud of yourself. I just didn't want that real spirit to fall into Zi Qianzhou's hands. That's why I launched a surprise attack." She secretly retracted her hand into her sleeve. Her subtle movements did not escape Su Yu's notice. A blue crystal flashed across Su Yu's eyes. Her left palm had crystallized. In other words, when the space within 100 miles started to crystallize, she was already in it, and she didn't suddenly appear just now. She had pretended to leave in front of Zi Qianzhou, while she hid her true self in the dark. At the last moment, she had suddenly intervened and saved Su Yu. From the very beginning, she had never intended to abandon Su Yu. Even when her palm crystallized and her soul was injured, she did not try to escape. "Let me see your hand." Su Yu's heart was filled with warmth. Although her face was cold, her heart was warm. She was like Su Yu's former benefactor, Anuro. She was an ugly and arrogant woman, but her heart was as gentle as water. The two figures overlapped in an instant. "I'm fine." Su Yu's tender expression melted Lu Chuyi's heart. Unknowingly, his tone became gentler. After a moment of silence, both Lu Chuyi and Su Yu were speechless. Su Yu looked at her back, and she looked at the distant sky. Both of them were stunned. At this moment, silence was more important than words. After this incident, the estrangement between them had disappeared, and the familiarity that they had lost had returned. "I'm leaving. Take care." Lu Chuyi did not turn her head around. "After you return to Jiuzhou's mysterious heavenly stage, if possible, seek Yu Qiuhong's protection. If he is willing to help you, you will be able to avoid this disaster." Yu Qiuhong was the old man who was good at making mechanical puppets. He had once said in front of everyone that anyone who dared to touch Su Yu would have to ask him first when they returned to Jiuzhou's mysterious heavenly stage. Based on his personality, he was most likely a man of his word. The problem was that Su Yu would not be transported back to Jiuzhou's mysterious heavenly stage. His farewell with Lu Chuyi might be an eternal one. Wait. Su Yu thought for a moment, then his soul entered the 9-jade spiritual pearl. He carefully took out the heavenly orchid silver bamboo seedling that had just sprouted and placed it in a jade box. "This is for you. I will never be able to repay you for saving my life." To Su Yu, this seedling was a rare treasure. It was a crucial material for rebuilding the 9 Suns Cosmos sword formation in the future. If possible, he did not want to give it away. He owed Lu Chuyi a debt of gratitude. Today might be the last time they met, and Su Yu did not want to have any regrets. The only thing that could interest Lu Chuyi was probably the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. It was the most suitable gift for her. The fate between them would also come to an end at this point. "This is..." Lu Chuyi looked back, but she did not recognize it. "Of the 2 seeds you gave me, one died and the other survived. I'll give it to you, returning it to its rightful owner." Su Yu smiled sincerely as he gave it to her. Lu Chuyi was shocked. "The seedling of the heavenly orchid silver bamboo? You planted it and it survived?" She felt incredulous. The bamboo had to be watered with the blood of all creation old monsters for 100 years before it could grow. The seeds also needed a large amount of the blood of all creation old monsters. How did Su Yu do it? Her snow-white eyes rippled with joy. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo was indeed very important to her. But when she noticed Su Yu's smiling face, Lu Chuyi gradually calmed down. "I can't take it. I need to find a suitable place to nurture it before its spirituality fades away." Lu Chuyi retracted her gaze and turned her back to Su Yu. Su Yu was stunned. "Why?" The bamboo was obviously very important to her. Lu Chui turned back and smiled sweetly. That was the first time she had ever smiled at Su Yu. Her smile was bright and beautiful, like the sunshine of the spring moon, and it warmed his heart. I've already gotten what I wanted, and I'm content. Lu Chui smiled sweetly, leaving Su Yu with a meaningful sentence. Then, her beautiful figure flew into the sky, back to Jojo. Looking at the disappearing figure, Su Yu was silently disappointed. What did she want, and what did she get? These questions lingered in Su Yu's heart, and he could not get rid of them for a long time. Goodbye. Su Yu smiled bitterly. Perhaps Lu Chui thought that they would meet again at the mysterious heavenly stage of Jojo. But she did not know that this farewell would be forever. Slap. Chapter 601. The words, mysterious heavenly crafting secret technique, appeared before his eyes. Did she return the crafting technique to Su Yu before she left? Lu Chui had disregarded her own life and death to pursue this book, which was why she and Su Yu had interacted. Their relationship had started with this book, and it would also end with this book. Su Yu's heart sank as he grasped the mysterious heavenly crafting secret technique. Swoosh. At that moment, the sound of something tearing through the air could be heard. The furious Zi Qianqiu had caught up with him. Lad, let's see where you can run to. Su Yu stood where he was and did not try to escape. After leaving the crystal world, the crystal in his body had lost its power and disappeared. His vital energy and spiritual energy started to circulate at the same time, so he could use all of his technique. This included the Great Sun Punishment Fairy picture. Unexpectedly, when he was only a mile away from Su Yu, Zi Qianqiu suddenly stopped approaching him. His furious expression was replaced by fear as he stared at Su Yu. Or rather, he was staring at Su Yu's back. Su Yu's heart shuddered. What is behind him? Can you tell me what happened between you and Ir? A slow, calm, clear, yet dignified, murderous, irresistible voice floated into his ears. Su Yu turned his head and saw a figure standing 3 feet behind him with his hands clasped behind his back. 3 feet. Just 3 feet. Su Yu had not noticed him at such a close distance. There had never been anyone who had come so close to him without him noticing. His soul eyes could see everything around him, but he could not see through the person standing 3 feet behind him. How long have you been here? Su Yu's expression was calm and he did not move. His instincts told him that if he moved, the person behind him could kill him at any time. Gu Taishu. He wanted to face Gu Taishu alone. Su Yu's expression was calm and he asked calmly, How long have you been here? How long have you been watching? How long have you been waiting? I came when Ir found you. I saw you from then until now, and I've been waiting for you since then. Gu Taishu's voice was very calm, like the calm waters of a bay. However, for some unknown reason, he gave off a sense of dread and fear, as if a storm was brewing. Gu Taishu had seen everything, including the conversation between him and Lu Chui, the chase, and the rescue. The fact that he had a true spirit, the fact that he had a remnant of an immortal-level cultivation technique, had all been exposed. This is the first time I've seen Ir smile like that. That smile wasn't directed at me, her fiancé, but at you, a stranger. Gu Taishu sighed faintly, suppressing his anger. So, please tell me, what happened between you and Ir, or rather, what is the relationship between the two of you? Gu Taishu clasped his hands behind his back and said softly, I will only ask this question once, and you only have one chance. What does that have to do with me? Su Yu turned around to look at Gu Taishu, his face ice-cold. He had been spying on Lu Chui and him from the very beginning. In other words, he had deliberately sent Lu Chui over to test the waters. What angered Su Yu was not his suspicions, but the fact that he had seen his fiancée in the crystal world. Her left hand had turned into crystal, yet she still refused to show herself. In his heart, which was more important, Lu Chui or the suspicions in his heart? Su Yu felt sorry for Lu Chui. She was deeply in love with Gu Taishu, but in Gu Taishu's eyes, she was nothing. An exclusive collectible? You aren't worthy of her, Su Yu said calmly. Gu Taishu wasn't worthy of such a heroic and beautiful woman. Whether I'm worthy or not, it's not up to you to decide, and it's also not up to other people to decide. Gu Taishu's face remained calm as he pointed at himself. Only I can decide. If I say I'm worthy, then it doesn't matter whether I'm worthy or not. All right, answer my question. You have already exhausted my patience. Gu Taishu's eyes were still calm. During the exchange festival, Su Yu had repeatedly surprised him while they were fighting for the blood of a real dragon, and this had caused him to loathe him greatly. Su Yu sucked in a breath. Do you want to satisfy your suspicions? I have nothing to say to you. Gu Taishu's face was still calm, and his tone was still calm. Do you want to anger me? It's boring and uninteresting. A weakling like you doesn't even have the chance to speak to me normally. You overestimate yourself and overestimate your own life if you think you can successfully anger me. To me, crushing you to death is no different from crushing an ant. Gu Taishu's arrogant attitude was filled with disdain. I've already given you a chance, so I won't question you again. Regardless of your relationship with Ir, your fate has already been decided. Death. However, since you didn't harm Ir, from now on, before I finish off Zi Qianqiu, you can run away as much as you want. You can run for your life like a dog. After Gu Taishu finished speaking, he didn't even look at Su Yu. He just clasped his hands behind his back and strode toward Zi Qianqiu. His pace seemed slow, but it was actually as fast as lightning. Zi Qianqiu was obviously trying to escape, but in just 2 breaths' time, Gu Taishu had already caught up with him. He then extended one of his hands, which were clasped behind his back, and grabbed Zi Qianqiu. Suddenly, an extremely powerful and oppressive force pressed down on Zi Qianqiu. Zi Qianqiu was extremely afraid of Gu Taishu, and his whole body was filled with demonic energy, which formed a giant light shield around his body. It's useless, Gu Taishu said calmly as he clenched his fist. Crack! The golden bell shield immediately shattered. Zi Qianqiu, who was within it, was instantly gripped by a powerful force. It was too terrifying. Gu Taishu was much more terrifying than he had imagined. With such a crisis before him, how could Zi Qianqiu still dare to hold back? Swoosh! Another puppet appeared. It was exactly the same as the previous puppet. He had 2 puppets with him. After imbuing them with vital energy, the puppets radiated a blue light, and the world that had been crystallized within 100 miles appeared once again. Gu Taishu didn't try to avoid it, nor did he stop his outstretched palm. I told you, it's useless. Gu Taishu's palm pressed down, but the blue light radiating from it did not crystallize his palm. Instead, it was forced back into the puppet. Swoosh! Gu Taishu's palm pressed down on the puppet, and as he clenched his fist, the puppet shattered with a cracking sound. The terrifying blue light that had shot out from it was extinguished by his palm. When he opened his palm, the terrifying puppet was only left with a pile of broken pieces. Inspector Hong Luan? It would be better if she came here personally, but a mere puppet is nothing to me. A gust of wind blew past, and the puppet's broken pieces were blown high up into the sky, scattering everywhere. Zi Qianqiu's expression became extremely unsightly. He didn't say another word, and he didn't even care about Su Yu anymore, as he quickly fled for his life. However, after he had fled for 1,000 feet, the space around him tightened, and he was firmly sealed. It was Gu Taishu who had grabbed him from a distance away. This is the end. Gu Taishu clenched his fist. No. Zi Qianqiu's soul body was crushed on the spot, and it turned into sparkling specks of light, which fell to the ground. His soul had been destroyed, and his main body's soul had suffered permanent damage. If he couldn't recover, it would be difficult for his cultivation to advance for the rest of his life. Both of them were divine masters, and their souls had descended here. One of them was a middle-stage fairy, while the other was a late-stage fairy. However, Gu Taishu could crush him as easily as crushing an ant. The disparity between them was unimaginable. Gu Taishu retracted his palm and calmly looked back at Suyu. "Why didn't you flee?" Suyu stood at the same spot, and he didn't flee. "You knew that you couldn't flee, so you would rather die with dignity than flee like a dog?" Gu Taishu seemed to have seen through Suyu's thoughts. However, Suyu's expression was still calm. "If I didn't flee, I wouldn't be waiting for death. I would be waiting for you to die." Suyu weaved signs with his hands, and it seemed like he was using some obscure cultivation technique. Gu Taishu would fight him alone. Chapter 602. You overestimate yourself. Gu Taishu's face was full of indifference. He waved his sleeves from a great distance away. As he raised his hand, the air crackled sharply, and a whirlwind that could not be seen by the naked eye swept up the airflow in all directions. It tore the space apart as well as Suyu. Clang! The whirlwind was extremely fast, reaching Suyu in the blink of an eye. It was as if it was going to tear Suyu and a large part of the space apart in one breath. A soft sound suddenly spread out, and the violent whirlwind came to an abrupt stop. Suyu was still standing in the same place, but there were now two identical clones beside him. One of them was crimson, and his body was covered in flames. One was covered in lightning, and his entire body was covered in lightning. At the second level of the second-grade clone art, Zhang Xian could create two clones at the same time. Including the main body, there would be a total of 3 people. Su Yu's body was covered by the Eternal Stone King armor. He sacrificed a crystal to release a light barrier. At the critical moment, it enveloped the 3 of them. The fire doppelganger held the 6-directional ruler in its hand and predicted in advance. The lightning clone stood on the dry cloud 5 elemental formation. Only when the 3 of them worked together did they manage to resist the whirlwind. However, he could only withstand it. Such a casual attack actually required Su Yu to use all of his defensive treasures to block it. The whirlwind was in a stalemate, so its momentum naturally weakened. Having failed to kill Su Yu with a single strike, Gu Taishu's face was unruffled. He strode forward and said, "Useless clone, useless treasure, and useless resistance." He waved his sleeves again, and the weakened whirlwind suddenly doubled in strength. Su Yu and his clone, who had managed to resist the attack with great difficulty, were instantly drawn into it. In an instant, the surrounding space shattered. The 6-directional ruler could block one side, but it couldn't block all of them. With a sound, it shattered, and the fire clone shattered for the first time. Next up was the dry cloud 5 elemental formation. After a series of tremors, the light barrier was shredded by the whirlwind and dissipated into dust. 2 clones were destroyed at the same time. Only Su Yu's Eternal Stone King armor had a very strong light shield. Even though he was sucked into the whirlwind, he could still resist it. This is the end. Gu Taishu strode forward, his 5 fingers clawing at the air. A similar scene had already happened to Zi Qianqiu. The only difference was that Zi Qianqiu's soul had been destroyed, while Su Yu's soul had been destroyed. The surrounding space suddenly tightened, and Su Yu could feel the suffocating pressure rapidly contracting. As long as Gu Taishu clenched his fist, he would be crushed to death. A chilly glint flickered in Gu Taishu's eyes, and he clenched his fists tightly. However, it was at this moment that a clattering sound was heard. A mass of black silk threads shot out from the larger land where they were fighting. It circled around Gu Taishu as fast as lightning. True Spirit Dragon Tendon. With Gu Taishu's current soul state, he was unable to destroy this object. He set up the ambush here? Gu Taishu instantly understood what was going on. Su Yu had already started setting it up when he killed Zi Qianqiu. While he was distracted, he used the True Spirit Dragon Tendon. Do you think the same move will work on me? However, Gu Taishu was not surprised at all. In fact, he had been prepared for it. A jade-like cat-shaped demonic beast flew out from his sleeve. Its entire body was glowing with a hazy brilliance, slowing down the time around it. This was a heaven-defying magic treasure with the power of time. The true spirit dragon tendon suddenly slowed down. Gu Taishu caught the real spirit dragon vein effortlessly with 2 fingers. With a flip of his fingers, he curled it around his index finger. The true spirit dragon tendon had been snatched away. Let me guess, do you still have a backup plan? Gu Taishu seemed to be able to see through everything, as he pointed his finger at the place where they were fighting. The ground cracked, revealing a black scroll hidden in the ground. The Great Sun Punishment Fairy Picture. Open! Suyu was shocked. He had been discovered. According to his plan, the real spirit dragon tendon would trap him, and the Great Sun Punishment Fairy Picture would take the opportunity to kill him. However, it had all been seen through. The scroll opened, and the disastrous fire that could burn everything in its path drifted out. Even if it was only a wisp of the disastrous fire, it was not something that a fairy realm's soul could withstand. However, Gu Taishu's face was indifferent. I said that the same move will not work on me. He grabbed Suyu with one hand and extended his other hand to press down on the scroll. A shocking scene appeared. The disastrous fire that had appeared was forcefully pressed back into the scroll. Then, with a suction force, the Great Sun Punishment Fairy Picture fell into his hand. I will accept the remnant of the fairy-level cultivation technique for you. Gu Taishu's face was calm as he stuffed the real spirit dragon tendon and the remnant of the fairy-level cultivation technique into his clothes. 2 top-grade treasures and 2 deadly traps had been destroyed just like that. It's all over. I will send you on your way first, and then I will look for that little Kylan. Gu Taishu pointed his fingers at Suyu, intending to crush him. However, Suyu's hands had already begun to weave signs, and he had already completed the seals. Another useless flying body? Gu Taishu said calmly, you've used the same move twice. The 2 clones descended beside Suyu again, standing there quietly. What was different was that each of their palms was condensing a kind of origin strength. The scarlet body condensed the fire origin in its palm. The thunder clone condensed the thunder origin. As for Suyu, the mark between his brows split open, and endless chilly energy gushed out. The ice origin gushed out like water. Are you trying to say that the same move will not work on you? Then, what about the move that you have never seen before? At the last moment, he had finally used his trump card. Suyu had once asked Lu Chi how to safely fuse the origins. Her answer was that the origins repelled each other, and the slightest mistake could easily lead to an explosion. The best way to safely fuse them was to use them 3 at the same time. Suyu couldn't use them 3 at the same time, but he could control 2 clones at the same time. 3 origins. Your comprehension is surprisingly good, but so what? A dead man will always be a dead man. Gu Taishu was surprised that a person could cultivate 3 origins at the same time. He had seen such people before, but all of them were people with extraordinary comprehension abilities. It was not easy for ordinary people to comprehend 1 origin before reaching the fairy realm, let alone 3. Yes, a dead man will always be a dead man. Suyu nodded. The 2 clones and the main body gathered together, fusing the 3 origins in their palms. Every origin's size and strength were perfectly comprehended, and the angle of fusion was perfect. It was as if the 3 origins were controlled by the same person. This was the new method that Suyu had come up with, the fusion of the origins. Fiery red flames, deep purple lightning, and pale white ice. The 3 colors, the 3 powers, and the 3 origins had fused together, forming a beautiful cloud that looked like a 3-colored flower. Didn't you say that the moves that you used before are useless against you? Then, have a taste of this move. Without giving Gu Taishu any time to react, the spinning 3-colored cloud flew toward Gu Taishu. A wisp of Suyu's consciousness was hidden in the cloud, and with a move of Suyu's mind, the consciousness moved the energy. Even if it was just a slight change in energy, it still caused the three origins to become unstable. Buzz. The seemingly peaceful three-colored cloud suddenly had numerous cracks. The three energies were mixed together, colliding and exploding. Wisps of scalp-numbing aura were emitted from the three-colored cloud. Gu Taishu's indifferent face suddenly became serious. What kind of origin is this? No, the fused origins don't have such destructive power. He didn't notice that his voice, which was as calm as an ancient well, had become sharp. For the first time, his face was full of seriousness. Swoosh. What was even more shocking was that Gu Taishu retreated. Gu Taishu, who could suppress even the disastrous fire, retreated without hesitation in front of the three-colored origins. That was a destructive power that threatened his life. It's too late to escape now. Explode. Su Yu shouted coldly. Boom. As if responding to Su Yu's words, the energy in the three-colored cloud became extremely chaotic, and the destructive power was brewing to its peak. A deafening roar shook the heavens and the earth, reverberating throughout the vast land. Red, purple, and white lights, which were fused together, were like the first ray of light that separated the heavens and the earth, engulfing the entire mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. The divine sparrow stage, the 5 peaks mountain, the 4 corners, the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion was engulfed by the three-colored light. Apart from the 3 colors there was nothing else in the world. Then, the destructive power that swept through the boundless heaven and earth appeared. There were thunderbolts, flames, and ice, but most of them were the destructive explosive power that was produced when they collided with each other. Rumble. The earth continued to tremble, and the sky continued to shake. Jojo's mysterious heavenly stage suddenly shook. What's happening down there? On Jojo's mysterious heavenly stage, a group of anxious elders all turned pale. Old Monster Yu's eyes shone brightly, and he stood up abruptly. He said in a serious voice, "Unbelievable! This energy fluctuation is close to that of a divine master. This isn't Gu Taishu, but who could it be?" Zi Qianzhou's face was pale, and he looked haggard. His soul had been damaged, and he looked terrible. When he sensed this shocking fluctuation, the first person that came to his mind was not Gu Taishu, nor any of the divine masters that had descended, but Su Yu, that mysterious, hateful, and terrifying young man. Lu Chui, who had also returned, was shocked. This is, amidst the intense fluctuation, she felt a sense of familiarity. A similar fluctuation had once occurred in the 7th level of the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. That was the fusion of the origins, Su Yu's fusion of the origins. However, comparing the two, the latter's fluctuation was more than 10 times stronger than the former's. It's him. Lu Chui was extremely shocked. She was shocked by Su Yu's terrifying origins, and she was also worried about Gu Taishu's fate. Amidst the shocking rumble, smoke and dust billowed, rising and falling in the boundless world. Amidst the smoke and dust, a figure with torn clothes and blood at the corners of his mouth floated in the air. He was heavily injured. 3 of my ribs are broken, and my spleen is damaged. Killing 1,000 enemies is like killing 800 of my own people. Su Yu laughed bitterly. How could he possibly remain unscathed after such a terrifying explosion of the origins? Even though he had taken out 3 magical treasures to defend himself at the last moment, he had still been heavily injured. However, the situation was far better than when he had fought against Yang Yidao. At that time, Su Yu had almost blown himself up. This time, he had added the dry cloud 5 elemental formation and the 6 directional ruler to minimize the number of casualties. Compared to the crude fusion of the past, this fusion was more precise, and its power was not just 1 or 2 times stronger, but 10 times stronger. Is the power of the origins this terrifying? Su Yu could not help but wonder. A single origin's power was not powerful, and it would be difficult for half-gods and above to injure it. However, for some unknown reason, Su Yu's origins were extraordinarily powerful after the fusion. Gu Taishu had said the same thing as Lu Chi about this. Su Yu's origin's power was somewhat strange. Did I overlook something? Su Yu muttered to himself absent-mindedly. Although he had doubts in his heart, he had not forgotten what he had to do. 10 miles away there was a deep, charred pit. The pit was 1,000 feet wide and 100 feet deep, and it was filled with remnants of thunderbolts, flames, and ice. In the center of the ruins, a blackened, burned, and frozen soul was lying there. The ice had turned it into an ice sculpture. Swoosh! Su Yu floated down, and with a wave of his hand, he grabbed the real spirit dragon veins and the great sun punishment fairy picture. They have been returned to their rightful owners, Su Yu said calmly. Chapter 603. In the end, it was still Su Yu who had the last laugh. Of course, Su Yu wasn't arrogant enough to think that he had defeated Gu Taishu. This was only a part of Gu Taishu's soul. His true body's strength was more than 100 times stronger. Even if Su Yu used all his techniques, he would not be able to match up to 1/100th of his opponent. Crack! At the same time that Su Yu retrieved the item, he also shattered the layer of ice on Gu Taishu's body, revealing his true form. Something's wrong. The moment Su Yu peeped into Gu Taishu's soul through the crack, he realized that something was amiss and cursed inwardly. Gu Taishu's soul, which had experienced the explosion of the source, did not change at all. Suddenly, Su Yu caught a glimpse of a jade cat-shaped demonic beast in her palm. The jade cat's body was full of fine cracks, and it was on the verge of collapsing. He was not injured at all. At the moment of crisis, he used the jade cat to delay time while he took the opportunity to avoid the destructive power of the explosion. Now that he was frozen, it was just the aftermath that affected him slightly. Have you finally found out? A gloomy voice that was as cold as the 9 hells came from the ice sculpture. Bang! A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the ice sculpture. That oppressive might nearing that of a divine master, that unparalleled aura of a king, that stifling, despair-inducing pressure instantly descended upon them once more. You've destroyed my most valuable treasure. Even if you die 100 times, you won't be able to atone for it. The ice sculpture dissipated, and Gu Taishu's imposing figure stood tall and straight. His eyes were like the sun and the moon as he looked down at Su Yu. His indifferent expression finally changed, revealing a deep murderous intent. He was furious. Su Yu's heart sank to the bottom. The consecutive battles had depleted his zhenqi and spiritual energy. Furthermore, he had sustained severe injuries from the explosion just now. How could he possibly fight? The situation took a turn for the worse. Die! Gu Taishu waved his hand, and the wind and clouds in the sky swirled violently. The mysterious heavenly divine pavilion rumbled. When he attacked, heaven and earth changed color. In the face of Gu Taishu's furious strike, Su Yu's heart was filled with despair. Was he still unable to escape the fate of death? His fatigued body no longer had any combat prowess. He could only watch as the surging wind and clouds tore his body apart. Bang! A huge storm descended, and the shocking aura that could even tear apart souls caused Su Yu to lose all hope of surviving. A trace of bitterness appeared at the corner of his mouth, and many regrets flowed in his heart. Su Yu prepared himself, but the pain he expected did not happen. The boundless wind and clouds automatically avoided Su Yu, ignoring him. Su Yu was startled. What had happened? Outside the storm, Su Yu vaguely heard Gu Taishu's grave and deep voice. Who is it? Who's in the dark? There was a tinge of fear and shock in his anxious shout. In an instant, the wind and clouds dissipated, and a figure appeared in front of Su Yu out of thin air. Her clothes were whiter than snow, and there was a white lotus mark on her chest. Xing Xuelian of the White Lotus sect. Her pure white hands were clasped behind her back. She, who was clearly only a half-immortal with an intent realm, actually had the demeanor of an indescribable expert. It was precisely because of her existence that the wind and clouds in the sky retreated on their own, not daring to intrude in the slightest. Suyu could not understand it. He had once fought with this woman at the transportation portal in the stone forest of the 7th level. At that time, she wasn't even comparable to Suyu. So, what was going on now? If you aren't Xing Xuelian, then who are you? Suyu asked as he retreated. This woman was too unfamiliar to him. Xing Xuelian turned her head, and a faint smile appeared on her pretty face. Shouldn't you be thanking me for saving your life first? Lu Qi gave away the heavenly orchid silver bamboo to save you, but I saved you, and now you're on guard. What? Xing Xuelian witnessed that scene with her own eyes. In other words, Gu Taishu, who was also there, did not notice this woman's existence. Suyu was secretly shocked. Who exactly is this Xing Xuelian? Who are you? Gu Taishu's expression was extremely grave. Xing Xuelian only looked at Suyu. She did not even turn her head to look at him. She then said, "There's nothing else for you to do here. You can leave now." She sounded like she was giving him an order. "Your Excellency, aren't you a little too?" Gu Taishu was displeased. However, before he could finish his sentence, a layer of blue crystal light suddenly appeared on his body. It was a blue crystal. Xing Xuelian had been standing on the same spot the whole time. She did not move at all. With just a thought, she covered Gu Taishu's body with crystals. This is Inspector Hong Luan's technique. You are. Gu Taishu's pupils contracted to the size of needles. It was as if he had just discovered something shocking. If you know, then why aren't you leaving? Xing Xuelian said calmly. Since the Lord has mentioned your name before, I won't kill you today. However, don't give me a reason to kill you. It's really you, Inspector Hong Luan. Gu Taishu was shocked. He really wanted to ask why she had appeared as a woman. He also wanted to ask how she had managed to enter the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. However, he did not dare to ask. In fact, even though he knew that the real spirit was right in front of him, he did not dare to think about it. Consider yourself lucky. Gu Taishu looked at Suyu unwillingly, then flew away. If I meet you again, I won't be so lucky. Looking at Gu Taishu's back, Suyu secretly clenched his fists. The gap between him and Gu Taishu was too great. Today's hatred and humiliation were all due to Suyu's incompetence. If it were not for Xing Xuelian's help, he would have become a corpse. Suyu looked at the woman in front of him solemnly. Hong Luan, an all-creation old monster. She stood in front of Suyu with a calm demeanor. If Suyu did not know her identity, it would be difficult to imagine that she was an all-creation expert. Are you surprised? I am also surprised that the mysterious person who obtained the real spirit is that silver-haired lad, Yin Yu. Hong Luan smiled. Her smile had a captivating charm. Xing Xuelian had already seen the dry cloud 5 elemental formation that Suyu had used in the 7th level. Although Suyu had covered his face, how could he hide his identity? Suyu's eyes lost focus when he was looked at by her smiling eyes. His mind had actually been taken away. Buzz. The divine 9-dragon cauldron in the depths of his mind trembled slightly, causing Suyu to regain his consciousness. Suyu was shocked, and he immediately retreated. He then asked coldly, "What do you mean?" Xing Xuelian was surprised. "You have a treasure in your soul that you hate so much. It's really surprising that your soul defense is so high. It seems like even if I did not attack you, you might not have died." Suyu's heart trembled, and his pupils shrank involuntarily. The divine 9-dragon cauldron had been discovered. This was the first time that someone had discovered the existence of the divine 9-dragon cauldron. "You saved me, but you didn't save my life, did you?" Suyu's expression darkened. Gu Taishu had just left, and now, an even more unfathomable existence had appeared. He did not believe that Xing Xuelian would save him for no reason. After all, there was no such relationship between them. Hee hee, you are still as smart and quick-witted as ever. I like smart juniors the most. Xing Xuelian chuckled softly, and her laughter was filled with charm. The divine nine-dragon cauldron trembled continuously, and it emitted a red liquid, which allowed Su Yu to remain clear-headed. Is this an all-creation old monster? Su Yu was greatly shocked. The divine nine-dragon cauldron would only emit a red liquid when Su Yu's soul underwent an intense change. Now, this woman's natural charm had caused the divine nine-dragon cauldron to have such a reaction. A great crisis had descended upon Su Yu, and he felt extremely uneasy. That's right. I saved you because I wanted to verify that last Shangguan Qing'er's judgment. I wanted to see whether you really are an ancient spiritual body, as she believed. Xing Xuelian pointed her white finger at Su Yu. Su Yu did not have time to dodge, and his body stiffened. It was as if his body had been bound by some kind of mighty divine power. He could not even blink his eyes, let alone move a single finger. In front of Xing Xuelian, Su Yu had been reduced to a puppet. Xing Xuelian walked over with light steps, and her fingernail lightly scratched the space between Su Yu's eyebrows. A drop of blood flowed out of the space between Su Yu's eyebrows and landed on her fingertip. All ancient spiritual bodies have bloodlines that are different from ordinary people. As such, we will know whether you are an ancient spiritual body by examining your blood. Xing Xuelian then dripped the drop of blood onto an ancient jade scroll. The jade scroll was carved with obscure words, which Su Yu had never seen before. When the drop of blood landed on the jade scroll, it was unable to merge with it. The jade scroll itself was dead silent, and there was no movement at all. It seems like that lass has misunderstood you. You only have a mortal body and you do not have an ancient bloodline. Xing Xuelian was calm, and she was not surprised at all. Su Yu was also surprised. He was just a mortal who had come from the mountains, so it was impossible for him to have an ancient bloodline. Su Yu still could not understand why Shangguan Qing'er was so certain that Su Yu had an ancient spiritual body. After all, she doesn't have enough experience and was deceived by her appearance. Xing Xuelian examined Su Yu, and her gaze fell on his right arm in the end. She then said, "You really aren't an ancient spirit body, but it seems like you have a spatial magical treasure hidden in your body. That ancient spirit body is in that space." Shangguan Qing'er misunderstood you as an ancient spiritual body because of this. Su Yu was shocked. The 9-jade spiritual pearl had been discovered. However, what was even more shocking was that the 9-jade spiritual pearl contained the ancient spiritual body that even the all creation's old monsters were looking for. Who was it? There were only 3 people in the 9-jade spiritual pearl. Wu Aoyue Long Wuxin, Qin Xiener. If Wu Aoyue had the ancient spiritual body, how could she not be discovered and become an outer sanctum disciple? Although Long Wuxin's battle prowess was astonishing, her physique could not be said to be special. Only Qin Xiener had the Phoenix of Death physique. Even Yun Yazi was amazed by her physique. He wanted to take her as his disciple but couldn't. Without a doubt, the real ancient spiritual body was not Su Yu, but Qin Xiener. Su Yu was startled, and he wondered, why are all creation old monsters looking for ancient spiritual bodies? Would it harm Xiener? In that instant, his heart was filled with anxiety and unease. I will know after I inspect it. Xing Xuelian walked over and pointed at Su Yu's arm. Swoosh. However, at that moment Xing Xuelian suddenly stopped and looked at the nearby forest. After hiding for so long, you are finally willing to show yourself? An ethereal and beautiful figure flew out of the forest, tearing through the air. It was a peerless face, a beauty that could topple cities, and a beauty that could cause everything in the world to lose its splendor. Her breathtaking beauty was like the blossoming sun. Xia Jingyu. Su Yu was startled. He became anxious, as he didn't know why she would be here. However, this was the most dangerous moment for him. What made him even more anxious was that he couldn't even signal her with his eyes. He could only look on helplessly as Xia Jingyu flew over. "It's Sister Jingyu." Xing Xuelian smiled sweetly. Her smile was filled with fondness. Chapter 604. Her first words had destroyed Su Yu's hope. Su Yu's heart turned cold, as he did not doubt that Xia Jingyu was an ancient spiritual body. Her inhuman perception was something that not only Su Yu could sense, but also Xia Jingyu herself. She wasn't an ordinary human. "You!" Xing Xuelian was confused. "Are you trying to save him, so you diverted your attention?" Xing Xuelian knew that Xia Jingyu was in love with Su Yu. "You will know whether I am an ancient spiritual body or not by examining me. Moreover, didn't you already try to get close to me?" Xia Jingyu's eyes were calm. As an all-creation old monster, it was difficult for her to understand why she would call Xia Jingyu, a complete stranger, sister. Xia Jingyu was only pretending not to know. She wasn't completely in the dark. Xing Xuelian smiled leisurely and said, "Hee, don't worry, I don't have any evil intentions. It's just that younger sister is a heaven-toppling beauty. I want to bring younger sister to meet my lord. I believe that you will obtain an endless fortune." What kind of person was she to be called a master by an all-creation old monster? However, it wasn't difficult to discern from her words that Xing Xuelian was doing this because of Xia Jingyu's beauty. "Let go of him, and I will go with you," Xia Jingyu said calmly. Xing Xuelian was startled. "Is it worth it for an ordinary person?" "I am willing," she replied. Xing Xuelian looked deeply at Xia Jingyu and shook her head slightly. "He is indeed outstanding. However, it is only relatively speaking. The world is vast. He is just an ordinary person in front of truly outstanding people. He is not worth mentioning. Follow me and experience the world. You will understand why I said that." Xia Jingyu was silent and she didn't speak. She just looked at Su Yu with her beautiful eyes. In the past, when Su Yu was just a village boy, she had already fallen in love with him. Her love for him had nothing to do with his status, his talent, or whether he was outstanding or not. It was only about the endless mountains and rivers, the passing of time, and the everlasting warm memories. She loved him, and that was all. "Let go of him, and I will go with you." Xia Jingyu took a drop of blood from between her brows and flicked it at him. "I have the beauty you want, and I also have the spiritual body you want." He was just affected by me, and Shangguan Qing'er misunderstood him. When she was misunderstood, she had been by Su Yu's side, and the two of them even shared the same divine decree. Affected? Xing Xuelian gently shook her head. She understood that Xia Jingyu was covering for him, but she still grabbed the essence blood and dripped it onto the jade scroll. There was a hint of anticipation in her bright eyes. Xia Jingyu was so confident. Could she really be an ancient spiritual body? ZZ, a strange scene appeared. When the drop of blood landed on the jade slip, it immediately fused into it without any obstruction. The ancient characters on it separated from the jade slip and hovered in the air, piecing together. The words, which were clearly unfamiliar to Su Yu, turned into words that Su Yu could recognize. Goddess Lady Race Bloodline, 30% purity. The flickering words caused Xing Xuelian's eyes to shine with excitement. Hiss, it really is an ancient spiritual body. Even though Hong Luan was an all-creation old monster, she could not conceal her astonishment at the ancient spiritual body. This spiritual body was a legendary existence in JoJo, and it was even rarer than all creation's old monsters. Every single one of them possessed incomparable talent and aptitude. In the future, they would at least reach the Divine Master level, and breaking through to the all creations level would be a piece of cake. Every time an ancient spiritual body appeared in the JoJo continent, it would inevitably lead to intense competition. Obtaining an ancient spiritual body meant obtaining a potential all-creation expert, who wouldn't try their best to fight for it. It could even be said that an ancient spiritual body was even more precious than a real spirit. Moreover, its bloodline is so powerful. It has 30% purity. It's unimaginable. Gu Taishu also has an ancient spiritual body, but his bloodline is less than half. Yet, he has already become a late-stage divine master at such a young age, let alone you. Hong Luan, who was an old monster who had cultivated for many years, revealed an ecstatic expression. A 30% purity was already considered a top-grade spiritual body. Xia Jingyu's face was as calm as an ancient well. Then, can you let him go? Xing Xuelian's expression continued to flicker with excitement, but she was still rational. After a moment of silence, she shook her head. I'm afraid it won't go as you wish. But don't worry, I won't hurt him, Xing Xuelian added. Xing Xuelian added, not wanting to offend Xia Jingyu too much. Although Shangguan Qing'er doesn't have enough experience, the Sinan used to examine the ancient spiritual body was made by Mo Tianxian. Since it pointed to him, there shouldn't be any mistake. As for being influenced by you, little sister Jingyu, I know that you want to protect him. However, this is my duty, and I can't be careless, Xing Xuelian said. As he spoke, he tapped Su Yu's arm with his finger. The 9-jade spiritual pearl flickered with a green light as it slowly appeared on Su Yu's arm. Then, Xing Xuelian sent a wisp of her soul into it. Su Yu's heart had sunk to the bottom of the valley, and his anger had also reached the bottom of the valley. Xia Jingyu exposed herself for him, sacrificed herself for him, and she even implicated Xian Er. As for himself, he was like a piece of trash, watching everything with his own eyes. Su Yu had returned to the Martial Arts Training Institute of the Xianyu Prefecture in a single night. The Su Yu who had lost his woman but was powerless to do anything about it. How similar was everything! Boundless anger rose in his heart. What he was angry about was himself, his own uselessness. If he could not even protect his woman, how could he talk about repaying his debt of gratitude? Could it be that he could only watch helplessly as his woman was taken away, with no room for redemption? The intense change in his emotions caused the divine 9-dragon cauldron to tremble. 3 drops of red liquid flowed out from the cauldron and entered Su Yu's blood vessels. With a soft cry, Su Yu's eyeballs moved slightly. He had actually broken free from the restraints of the all creations. However, only his eyes could move. What no one noticed was that Su Yu's eyes were glowing with a white light. A pale white snow dragon was swimming within his eyes. The divine 9-dragon cauldron trembled twice. The white dragon, like the purple dragon and the red dragon, also completely crystallized. Su Yu's eyes once again underwent a qualitative change. A brand new ability was quietly born. Swoosh! At the same time, Xing Xuelian's soul, who had entered the divine 9-dragon cauldron, returned. Strange. Could that last Shangguan Qing'er have made a mistake? Strangely, Xing Xuelian did not notice anything. It would have been fine if she had not noticed Qin Xiener and Long Wuxin. After all, the two of them had been isolated by Su Yu. However, Wu Aoyue had not been isolated at all. Furthermore, there was still the supreme growing soils garden. Could she not have noticed it at all? At that moment, an obscure voice sounded in Su Yu's ears. It was a little anxious. What are you doing? How did you provoke an old monster at the level of all creations? It was the remnant soul of the 9-tailed white fox. Luckily, I reacted in time and used my illusory technique to conceal the space. She only saw a barren land. Otherwise, both you and I would not have been able to escape. Su Yu's heart relaxed. He had almost forgotten the existence of this mysterious remnant soul. Elder White Fox, can you help? Su Yu asked anxiously. The 9-tailed white fox said, I will have to disappoint you. I am only a remnant soul. Hiding from her is already my limit. It is impossible for me to pose a threat to her. After saying this, the 9-tailed white fox sank into silence. To her, if Su Yu died, she would just have to change the owner of the 9-jade spiritual pearl. However, if she died, she would completely disappear. Su Yu's heart gradually sank. After Xing Xuelian's inspection, it was time to bring Xia Jingyu away to meet the lord she spoke of. Xia Jingyu's beautiful appearance and shocking physique meant that she was destined to be taken in as the lord's exclusive property and become his woman. Clenching his teeth, Su Yu's soul entered the jade box in his robes. The soul body of his master, Yun Yazi, resided within. Now, the only person he could count on was his cheap master. Ever since he had become his disciple, he had only taught Su Yu the heavens sun-gazing at air of an unknown origin. Since then, he had never guided Su Yu in his cultivation. He had even warned Su Yu that he would not intervene no matter what danger he encountered. Everything was to dispel Su Yu's hopes of getting lucky and to stimulate his potential in danger. Even if his life was in danger, he would not intervene. If Su Yu met with misfortune, then he would intervene and kill the enemy, taking revenge for his disciple. Su Yu kept this in mind. No matter what kind of life and death crisis he encountered, he had never asked for help. Now that Xia Jingyu had sacrificed herself for him, he was helpless and could only ask his master for help. He was not doing this for his own life, but for Xia Jingyu. Master! Su Yu's soul appeared in the space of the jade box. Yun Yazi's figure, which he had not seen for a long time, was sitting cross-legged and cultivating. Su Yu kowtowed and called out softly. Yun Yazi slowly opened his eyes, a look of confusion flashing past his eyes. Ever since the last time, he had been quietly recovering his soul, cultivating for a long time. He had only been awakened today. What is it? Yun Yazi asked. Su Yu found it difficult to speak. After struggling for a moment, he said, Master, please intervene and save someone for your disciple. Yun Yazi was silent for a moment, then sighed. You have broken your vow in the end. Su Yu was ashamed. If he could, why would he have to do this? All of this was because of his incompetence. Master, please intervene. Su Yu kowtowed. She is the most important person in my life. I can die, but she must not. Xia Jingyu had said the same thing before. I can die, but he must not. Now that time had overlapped, the same thing was happening. As long as you intervene, your disciple will agree to anything, Su Yu pleaded. Ever since he had come to Xinyue Island, Su Yu had never begged anyone, nor had he begged anyone in such a pathetic manner. This was because he had encountered the greatest crisis, a crisis that he could not overcome. Get up. Your pathetic state is the last thing I want to see. Yun Yazi frowned. Su Yu relaxed slightly. Master, you have agreed? But Yun Yazi's face was cold. I would not intervene even if you died, let alone an outsider. I have said that I will not intervene for you. This is my oath, there are no exceptions. Yun Yazi was ruthless and cold. Get out now. Master. Su Yu was anxious. But Yun Yazi was unmoved. With a flick of his sleeves, Su Yu's soul was expelled from the jade box. Returning to his physical body, Su Yu was extremely disappointed. How could his master not be moved when he was so pathetic and begging for mercy? Chapter 605. All of a sudden, Su Yu was filled with hatred. Was an oath really that important? You know that your disciple's most beloved woman is about to be abducted, but you're still indifferent? But what he hated the most was himself. His incompetence and cowardice were the main culprits. Maybe you're right. Xing Xuelian pondered for a long time, but to no avail. She could only agree with Xia Jingyu's opinion. Perhaps it was really Xia Jingyu's spiritual body that affected the surroundings, causing Shangguan Qing'er to misjudge. After thinking about it carefully, Xing Xuelian felt relieved. Ancient spiritual bodies were extremely rare, and it was already a great miracle that Xia Jingyu had one. It was wishful thinking to think that another one would appear. Let him go, Xia Jingyu said. Xing Xuelian nodded, then grabbed Su Yu's space ring with her bare hands. Ignoring Su Yu, his soul bounced directly into it. Hey, there are a lot of good things here. Xing Shuoyan exclaimed. What? A celestial artifact? Xing Shuoyan was shocked. A 5-colored light swept out. It was the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. Holding the seal, Xing Shuoyan looked at it again in disbelief. It really is a celestial artifact. Although it is just a prototype, it is definitely a celestial artifact. It just so happens that I've just advanced to the all-creation realm not long ago, so I haven't refined my own celestial artifact yet. I'll use this Thunder Path celestial artifact for the time being. Xing Shuoyan naturally put it away. She didn't feel that it belonged to someone else. The anger in Su Yu's heart became even more intense, and his sorrow became even more intense. He had actually fallen to the point where his Dharma treasures could be freely chosen by others? Stop. You can't touch Su Yu's things. Xia Jingyu tried to stop him. Xing Shuoyan didn't look at her, nor did she look at Su Yu. She just continued searching the ring as if no one else was present. She then said calmly, Sister Jingyu, I don't care if I kill him or not, and taking his treasures is the price I have to pay for sparing his life. You should rejoice, as he still has treasures worth taking from me. Otherwise, I would have already killed you to protect your identity as an ancient spirit body. A person like Su Yu was worthless in her eyes. Swish swish, 2 balls of light flew out. They were the true spirit dragon tendon and the great sun punishment deity painting. These 2 items are not bad. The true spirit dragon tendon can be used to exchange for some materials. As for this remnant immortal tier cultivation technique, I can bring it back and give it to my juniors. Hee, the seedling of the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. This is good stuff. It can save me a lot of effort. Xing Shuoyan found the seedling of the heavenly orchid silver bamboo and put it in her bosom with a smile. After searching for a while, Xing Shuoyan nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, the harvest is not small. Xing Shuoyan waved her hand and released Su Yu. As for the remaining items, they are useless to me, so you should keep them for yourself. Her tone made it seem as if she was showing mercy. Little sister Jingyu, follow me. I'll bring you to see that lord. Xing Shuoyan held Xia Jingyu's hand and wore her usual smile. She had never once looked at Su Yu. Wait! Su Yu shouted in a low voice. Who is that lord? Why are you bringing her with you? At this moment, Su Yu wasn't concerned about the treasures that had been taken away. Instead, he was concerned about Xia Jingyu's fate. Xing Shuoyan turned her head and said, He's someone you can't afford to associate with. He's a king. As for little sister Jingyu, she's a great beauty, and more importantly, she has an ancient spiritual body. She's exactly the type of wife that the king would choose. I believe that little sister Jingyu will be blessed by him and become his 3rd wife. She then added, from now on she will become a phoenix. For her own good, don't have anything to do with her in the future. After all, your fates are different. Xing Shuoyan shook her head calmly. Do you have anything else to say? If you don't, then the relationship between the 2 of you will end here. Sure enough, Su Yu's heart ached. Xia Jingyu was going to be taken away and become someone's wife. Su Yu clenched his fists and felt as if his heart was bleeding. Wait. Can you please leave and give us some time? I need to bid farewell to you, Xia Jingyu said. Xing Shuoyan was slightly displeased, but she knew that Xia Jingyu would definitely become a wife. She knew that she would have to lower her head sooner or later, so she didn't want to offend her too much. Fine, but only for the time it takes to brew half a cup of tea. Xing Shuoyan took a step back helplessly and left. Before she left, she muttered softly, I really don't understand what's good about a cripple like her. A cripple? Su Yu clenched his fists even more tightly. Brother Yu. Xia Jingyu's voice trembled. She couldn't bear the pain in her heart any longer, and her eyes turned red as she threw herself into Su Yu's embrace. Su Yu didn't avoid her, and he instinctively hugged her. His feelings for her couldn't be concealed any longer. Yes, he loved Xia Jingyu, just like how Xia Jingyu had loved him all along. The pain of losing her made it impossible for Su Yu to conceal his feelings. Brother Yu. She could feel Su Yu's hands hugging her waist tightly. It was the first time she clearly felt Su Yu's feelings, his heart and his intentions. Her world was bright for the first time, and it was filled with indescribably beautiful colors. Her emotions, which couldn't be described with words, turned into tears that rolled down her cheeks. Even though it was a sad time for them to part, Xia Jingyu's heart was filled with joy and happiness, which she had never felt before. This day was probably the most unforgettable, most exciting, and most dazzling day of her life. On this day, she realized that the person she had always loved also loved her. Their hearts had long since become one. Jingyu, Su Yu felt even more pain as he looked at Xia Jingyu's excited, joyful, and happy face. It was all too late. This hug was too late, too late. Don't say it. I understand, I am willing, and I have no regret. As long as it's for Brother Yu, I can bear anything. Xia Jingyu extended her finger and placed it on Su Yu's lip. Her smile was unprecedentedly brilliant, and it caused the whole world to be filled with light. I understand, I am willing, and I have no regret. This was Xia Jingyu's answer. She had used her entire life's happiness, no, she had used her life to give him an answer. Xia Jingyu was soft on the outside, but firm on the inside. She was a pure and chaste woman. After this parting, it wasn't like they were separated by heaven and earth. She would choose death. This was something Su Yu believed without a doubt. Brother Yu, don't speak. Let me lie down quietly. I just want to enjoy this embrace once more, just like that day under the pear-blossom moonlight, when you imparted your enlightenment to me. Xia Jingyu closed her eyes peacefully, enjoying the embrace that she hadn't felt in a long time. Under the pear-blossom moonlight, in the Duke of Xianyu's palace, the day before Su Yu's wedding. He had taught Xia Jingyu his divine decree, step by step. That was the first time they had interacted. Now, Xia Jingyu was once again lying in his embrace. Brother Yu, I like you. I really, really like you. Xia Jingyu buried her face in Su Yu's embrace, bravely confessing her feelings. Since that day under the pear-blossom moonlight, I have liked you. I have always liked you. I like your kindness, I like your loyalty, and I like the miracles you create. I never thought that there would be someone who could shock my soul like this, leave such an indelible mark on me, and leave such a deep impression on my heart. Hearing Xia Jingyu's confession, Su Yu was not happy at all. He only felt pain and dissatisfaction. I never thought that I would one day be able to lie in Brother Yu's embrace. I never thought that I would one day be able to hug Brother Yu. I never thought that I would one day be able to hug Brother Yu. Brother Yu, I'm really happy. I'm really happy. Xia Jingyu cried silently, her voice trembling. She was both excited and sad. Thank you, Brother Yu, for giving me one last hug. Xia Jingyu's shoulders trembled as she raised her head. 2 streams of tears rolled down her beautiful face. It was both beautiful and sad. She stood on her tiptoes, raised her head, and pressed her red lips against Su Yu's. Her soft, fragrant touch filled Su Yu's mind. There were also the tears that flowed down her cheeks. It was both sweet and bitter. They kissed. Their relationship had already changed beyond the so-called friends, the so-called confidants. This was Su Yu's first kiss, a kiss that he had never had with Qin Xianer. Su Yu enjoyed it silently, while a rebellious feeling welled up in his heart. He could not lose it. He could not lose it. Swoosh. Xing Xuelian had returned in less than the time it took to drink a cup of tea. The space is about to close, so there's no time left. Jingyu, come with me. Xing Xuelian interrupted their intimate moment, ignoring Su Yu as she pulled Xia Jingyu away from his embrace. Without Su Yu's embrace, Xia Jingyu still had a bright smile on her face. Brother Yu, I'm already satisfied. You don't need to be burdened by me. Just live well. Would she be satisfied with a hug and a kiss? Stop. Su Yu closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes shone brightly. Xing Xuelian, who was about to fly away, suddenly felt a terrifying will shoot at her from behind. When she looked back, she met Su Yu's eyes. Even with Xing Xuelian's state of mind, she couldn't help but shiver. What a powerful defying will! It was Su Yu's defying will, defying fate, defying heaven, and defying all injustice. His defying intent could cause the heavens to be enraged, it could reverse fate, and it could destroy injustice. The clouds in the sky suddenly rolled and the forest rustled. Countless living beings fled in panic. The radiation of the defying will caused all living beings to retreat. It was as if the defying will had come from heaven. At this moment, Su Yu didn't seem like a human, but more like a demon. He was a demon who would rather become a demon than be abandoned by heaven. Your will is very strong. If a person like you doesn't die, you will surely become a great figure in the future. Xing Xuelian gave Su Yu a positive evaluation for the first time. That will was something that made her feel uneasy. If it wasn't for Xia Jingyu, I would have killed you. Xing Xuelian looked away and said calmly, "You should thank your good fortune for getting to know her." As she spoke, she grabbed Xia Jingyu and flew away. I said, "Stop." Su Yu repeated himself. His whole body's aura became strange, and an evil energy started to spread in his body. Xing Xuelian, who was flying, suddenly turned her head, and her pupils contracted. What is that evil energy? She felt uneasy, and her intuition told her that there was an extremely evil thing in Su Yu's body that was awakening. Xing Xuelian's killing intent flickered. "Kneel down." Xing Xuelian raised her hand and waved. All of a sudden, the spiritual energy within 100 miles started to gather, turning into a huge mountain that descended from the sky. Bang! The ground was crushed by it, and it sank 100 feet. Su Yu was instantly pressed into the ground. "Brother Yu!" Xia Jingyu cried out involuntarily, her face pale. Su Yu was seriously injured, and his spiritual energy and vital energy had been used up. He was no different from an ordinary person, so how could he block such a blow? This blow was enough to crush him into meat paste. Chapter 606. What an imposing aura, but it's a pity that you're too weak. You're still a cripple, Xing Xuelian said calmly. She was too lazy to check the result. Jingyu, he asked for it. Don't blame me for not giving him a chance. Xia Jingyu's eyes widened. Su Yu was dead. She could not accept this reality. The only person she loved had died just like that. Then, a deep chill shot out of his eyes. You killed him! He's too weak. His death is not to be regretted, Xing Xuelian said calmly. Xia Jingyu's eyes were filled with hatred. Kill me! If I don't die, I will take your life in the future. Xing Xuelian did not care about her threat. Then be your concubine. When you have power, you might be able to take revenge for him. Bang! However, right at that moment, the mountain of spiritual energy exploded. A terrifying aura erupted from beneath the mountain like a volcano eruption. The spiritual energy was like a sharp arrow that shot toward Xing Xuelian. Xing Xuelian's expression changed. She waved her sleeves and created a few gusts of wind to disperse the incoming spiritual energy. What happened? Xing Xuelian was surprised. An evil energy came from beneath the ground, which made her uncomfortable. It was an extremely powerful evil energy. Pop! Suddenly, the ground cracked and a blood-red light shot towards Xing Xuelian from beneath the ground. Xing Xuelian was shocked. She quickly created a few gusts of wind. However, the red light was as fast as lightning. It was invincible. The gusts of wind she created were pierced through and reached Xing Xuelian in an instant. Xing Xuelian was, after all, an all-creation expert. At that critical moment, she saw a pair of eyes. It was a pair of dark red eyes. They were filled with evil energy. It was definitely not a human being. Bang! A fist wrapped in blood energy reached towards her chest, aiming for her heart. Xing Xuelian snorted coldly. She waved her hand to meet the fist. Thud, thud, thud. Xing Xuelian was shocked to see that her opponent's fist was filled with a powerful force that forced her back. The force entered her body through her arm and caused cracks to appear on her body. In an instant, her whole body was covered in blood. The terrifying attack caused Xing Xuelian to instantly turn serious. She didn't even have time to care about Xia Jingyu, who had let go of her in a panic. "Who are you?" Xing Xuelian was shocked as she looked at the bloody man in front of her. That was Su Yu, but also not Su Yu. His figure and appearance were undoubtedly Su Yu's. However, his eyes were completely black and his pupils were dark red. Even with her all-creations experience, she had never seen such inhuman evilness. All of a sudden, Xing Xuelian noticed that Su Yu was holding a blood-red gourd in his right hand. Ghost Gourd. It is the ghost gourd that Bai Yijian killed his entire clan and accumulated their cultivation and energy. Xing Xuelian recognized him with a single glance. "You, how can you use the flesh and blood power and cultivation of their clansmen?" It was obvious that Su Yu had used the ghost gourd's energy and cultivation to transform into his current appearance. He fully activated his evil ghost bloodline and absorbed the flesh and blood from the gourd, causing his strength and cultivation to soar. However, only members of the White Clan could use it. So, how did Su Yu do it? Dead people don't need to know too much. Su Yu spoke. His voice was hoarse and full of evil, as if he was an evil demon. It was filled with an evil aura that made people shudder. "Humph! Do you think that I would be afraid of you if you borrowed external power?" Xing Xuelian coldly snorted. She then grabbed a blue crystal sword out of nowhere. Before she waved it, blue crystals had already formed around the crystal sword. She had seen this move many times in Zichencho's puppets. "Die!" Xing Xuelian waved the sword without hesitation. Wherever the sword energy passed, everything turned into blue crystals. It was an absolute death. Clang! However, the evil Su Yu's hands, which were filled with blood energy, raised his hand and grabbed the sword energy. With his 5 fingers, the sword energy was shattered with a cracking sound, and the crystals were swept away. "Nothing much." Su Yu laughed evilly. That laugh actually made Xing Xuelian's hair stand on end. She did not understand what she was fighting against. Was it a human, a demon, or some kind of inhuman evil creature? Swoosh! What made Xing Xuelian's pupils shrink was that Su Yu had turned into a ball of blood shadow and attacked once again. "Retreat!" Xing Xuelian raised her sword once again and attacked. Bang! However, the evil Su Yu was not afraid at all, and he forcefully attacked her with his palm. The sword that she had just attacked was actually suppressed by Su Yu's palm, and it landed on Xing Xuelian's body. Ah! With a horrible shriek, the sword had cut off Xing Xuelian's right arm. The right arm that had been cut off quickly turned into crystals, then crumbled into powder. Xing Xuelian was in pain, and her heart was filled with shock. So powerful! Without another word, Xing Xuelian's figure retreated rapidly, her expression extremely grave. However, just as she was retreating, she suddenly felt a chill in her chest. When she looked at it, she saw that there was a fist-sized hole in her chest. It had been pierced through from the front to the back, and her heart had disappeared. Slap! A soft sound could be heard. Xing Xuelian looked towards the source of the sound and saw Su Yu, who was laughing evilly, crushing her heart. When did he take away her heart? Bang! However, right at that moment, Xing Xuelian's body exploded, and a transparent figure with a strange appearance flew out from her body. It was a very charming woman, and every frown and smile was filled with boundless charm. This woman was Hong Luan, the soul of an all-creation old monster. At that moment, her charming face was filled with shock, and she was fleeing frantically. Hee. Dark Su Yu's lips curled into an evil, cold smile as he disappeared with a gust of wind. Hong Luan's pupils shrank. Why is he getting stronger and stronger? She was alarmed, and as she looked around, she still could not find Su Yu. Are you looking for me? An evil, cold, and hellish laugh suddenly echoed in her ears. Hong Luan was shocked, and she retreated without hesitation. However, all of a sudden, she felt something tighten around her neck. In the void in front of her, a blood-red palm reached out and grabbed her neck. Then, a blood-red figure walked out of the void, and that evil face appeared once again. You're just SOSO, Suyu said in a hoarse voice. As he opened his mouth, a gust of wind blew over, corroding a large part of the forest. Xing Xuelian, who was in her soul body, was assaulted by the gust of wind, and her whole body started to rot. It was extremely painful for her soul to be severely injured, and Hong Luan's soul body trembled continuously as she screamed in pain. Stop! What are you trying to do? Hee hee. Suyu laughed evilly, and his evil laughter echoed in the 8th level, as well as the mysterious heavenly stage of Jiuzhou. What kind of living being is that? What a terrifying evil energy! Even this place could feel the soaring evil energy. Could it be an evil spirit born in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion? Lu Chui was also very serious. What happened down there? Did Senior Hong Luan's arrival awaken some evil being? Gu Taishu's eyes were also very serious, as the evil energy that was being emitted was too powerful. They had never thought that it was Suyu, as no matter how strong Suyu was, it was impossible for him to emit such an evil energy. At that moment, the creepy, evil laughter could be heard. Everyone's faces turned solemn, and they all looked very afraid. Senior Hong Luan, what kind of terrifying evil being did you awaken? That was the only question in everyone's minds. What do you want to do to me? I am just a part of your soul. If you dare harm me, wait for my real body to descend. I don't care what kind of evil being you are, I will make sure you die. Hong Luan's soul was extremely terrified as she faced Suyu, who was filled with evil energy. Hee hee hee. Dark Suyu laughed evilly as he opened his mouth. Then, he shoved Hong Luan's soul into his mouth. Dark Suyu was going to eat Hong Luan's soul alive. No. What kind of monster are you? Xing Xuelian screamed in fear. Chapter 607. In such a crisis, Hong Luan's soul was scared out of her wits. Gritting her teeth, a layer of blue crystals appeared on the surface of her body. Her soul had crystallized in an instant. Bang! With a soft sound, her crystallized soul body exploded on the spot, turning into countless fragments that shot in all directions. Good. Good. You are the first to force my soul to self-destruct. Hong Luan's soul's roar could be heard from the countless fragments at the same time. There was fear, unwillingness, and resentment in her voice. I will send a message back to my main body now, so that I can come here. I want to see if you can overturn the heavens in front of me. It was just Hong Luan's soul. Because of the fairy artifact in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion, Hong Luan's main body, which was in the outside world, did not know what was happening here. However, if even a wisp of Hong Luan's soul managed to escape and return to her main body, then everything that had happened here would be known to her. The mysterious heavenly divine pavilion might be able to stop divine masters from entering, but it might not be able to stop all creations. At that time, even if all creation's old monsters came personally, Dark Suyu would still be destroyed. Thousands of fragments flew in all directions, and it would be impossible to catch them all. However, Dark Suyu could only laugh coldly. Do you think you can escape? Soul space. Dark Suyu's dark red eyes suddenly turned snow-white, and a white dragon flickered within them before disappearing. In an instant, the surrounding scenery changed. Dark Suyu's body was in the snow-white space, and the countless escaping fragments were all in the snow-white space. Not a single one of them was spared. The white space was sealed, and the fragments were all sealed within it. A space created by a soul? How did you do it? This is the ancient spiritual body, the unique technique of the Soul Clan. Hong Luan was extremely shocked. Countless voices echoed in the snow-white space. Dark Su-yu waved his sleeves, and suddenly, the soul, which had been scattered into countless fragments, was forcefully gathered together. In the end, it formed a crystallized soul that was full of cracks, and not a single soul fragment was missing. All of the soul fragments had been captured. In the soul space, Su-yu was a god. With just a thought, he could control everything. At that moment, Hong Luan's face no longer had any resentment, but only despair and fear. Even so, she still could not escape. Hee. Dark Su-yu could only laugh evilly as he bit down. Creak, a shrill scream came to an abrupt end. The split soul of an all-creation old monster had been eaten alive just like that. After swallowing Hong Luan's soul, Dark Su-yu revealed an evil smile that was filled with enjoyment. His laughter reached beyond the clouds and reverberated throughout the Jiuzhou mysterious heavenly stage. However, at this moment, a destructive tribulation lightning descended from the sky. Rumble, with a loud bang, his soul space suffered a fierce attack and instantly shattered. The surrounding space returned to its original state. The only difference was that right in front of him, there was a small beast with lightning all over its body, baring its teeth. It was staring at Su-yu with fear. It was a thunder spirit, and it was the embodiment of the firmest and most yang of heaven and earth. Dark Su-yu was extremely evil. The thunder spirit instinctively rejected him, so how could it not make a move? Disastrous thunder spirit. Su-yu laughed evilly, his 5 fingers grabbing toward the ground. Swish swish, a piece of flesh flew out from the ground. It was Xing Xuelian's broken body. A black jade pendant flew out of his body and into the Dark Su-yu's palm. As he rubbed his 2 fingers together, the jade pendant exploded, revealing a few balls of light. The real spirit dragon veins, the great sun punishment fairy picture, the heavenly orchid silver bamboo seedling, and the prototype fairy artifact, the 5 elemental strong thunder seal. With a clench of his fist, the 5 elemental strong thunder seal appeared in Su-yu's palm. Although it is a prototype fairy artifact, it lacks disastrous thunder. You are just right for it. The power of the 5 elemental strong thunder seal depended on the disastrous thunder that was sealed within it. Previously, it had never been able to display its ideal power because it did not have disastrous thunder. The disastrous thunder spirit before him was the most suitable. As if it understood Su-yu's words, the thunder spirit rolled its eyes. Sensing that something was amiss, it immediately ran away. With its thunder body, it could travel more than 100,000 miles in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. However, Su-yu laughed evilly. His whole body flashed with a dark red light, and he even teleported 100 feet around him. In an instant, he caught up with the thunder spirit. As he laughed evilly, he pressed his palm toward the thunder spirit. Sensing the danger, the thunder spirit screeched and spat out a red ball of thunder from its mouth. The destructive power contained within the ball of thunder caused even the divine masters to tremble. However, as Dark Su-yu pressed his palm against it, the red ball of thunder was destroyed on the spot. The thunder spirit let out a pathetic groan as it was struck by Dark Su-yu. The thunder spirit, whose demonic power was unparalleled, was severely injured by a few disastrous thunders from the thunder spirit. However, it could not even withstand a single blow from Dark Su-yu. Collect. Dark Su-yu waved his hand, and the 5 elemental strong thunder seal emitted a colorful light that enveloped the thunder spirit. The thunder spirit screeched fiercely, and the disastrous thunder around it rumbled. At the same time, 9 terrifying disastrous thunders descended. Every single one of them, even if it was just a tiny bit, could turn a half-fairy into ashes. However, the 5 elemental strong thunder seal, which was activated by Dark Su-yu, did not budge at all. It allowed the disastrous thunder to attack it and absorb it all. As for the thunder spirit, although it struggled with all its might, it was still suppressed by the colorful light. With a spin, the thunder spirit was forcefully absorbed into the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. Suddenly, Dark Suyu furrowed his brows. Not dead yet? Just as he was subduing the thunder spirit, a soul fragment suddenly flew out from Suyu's body. It was the fragment of Hong Luan's soul fragment. The rest of the fragments had all been refined, and only this one had been preserved by some unknown method. Moreover, it had escaped while Suyu was suppressing the thunder spirit. Dark Suyu was activating the prototype fairy artifact with all his might, so he did not have the time to chase after the fragment. As a blue light flickered, the soul fragment successfully escaped from the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. An engraved, venomous voice reverberated throughout the entire space. "I want you to die without a place to be buried." Swoosh! The soul fragment passed through the void and quickly returned to its original body. Hong Luan's original body would eventually find out about what had happened here. What awaited Suyu was the arrival of an all-creation old monster. Dark Suyu's entire body was filled with evil energy, and he laughed coldly. "Do you think I will obediently wait for you to come? Collect!" Dark Suyu shouted in a low voice, and a boundless energy was imbued into the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. The thunder spirit roared angrily as it was forcefully absorbed into the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. Suddenly, a beast's head symbol appeared at the bottom of the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. It was slightly protruding, and it looked like the thunder spirit. However, the beast's head symbol was constantly shaking, and it was unstable. This was a sign that the thunder spirit was struggling within the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. You still want to escape? Just obediently refine it for me." Dark Suyu slapped the 5-elemental strong thunder seal with his palm. At that moment, a ring filled with evil energy enveloped the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. The thunder spirit's struggle immediately weakened. The 5-elemental strong thunder seal was a magical treasure that could counter evil Yin energy. However, it was unexpectedly sealed by an evil Yin energy. The day that the evil energy cannot be suppressed will be the day that the thunder spirit is refined. At that time, the 5-elemental strong thunder seal will truly be a prototype fairy artifact. Such a prototype fairy artifact is really a waste in the hands of this body. The tone of the voice was not Suyu's. Chapter 608. Dark Suyu waved his sleeves and took away all the items left behind by Hong Luan's soul. He then landed on the ground and sat down cross-legged on a giant rock. He then started to take inventory of the items he had obtained. "Oh, interesting. A desolate sea-lost pearl?" Dark Suyu unexpectedly found a pearl that was flickering with lightning. It was about the size of an eyeball. When Hong Luan's soul had left, the desolate sea-lost pearl had naturally fallen into his hands. "I have prepared sufficient materials, but this body is too useless. Even if I have the materials, I can't refine it," Hong Luan's soul said. "The 5-elemental strong thunder seal is refining the thunder spirit, so it won't be easy to refine it. Let's talk about it later." After saying this, she casually tossed the desolate sea-lost pearl into her ring. "Oh, an illusory spell?" He also found a simple spell formation among the items. It was the Ice Soul Divine Dream spell. Suyu's spell formation had been taken away by her as well. Although the effect is poor, it's not bad for me to use it temporarily. It's just that its power is too weak. Dark Suyu blew out a mouthful of evil energy. The evil energy turned into flames and started to refine the spell formation flag. After a while, Dark Suyu retracted his evil energy. The black spell formation flag now had a hint of purple in it. "This is barely passable." Dark Suyu nodded in satisfaction. The remaining items were the real spirit dragon veins and the Great Sun Punishment fairy picture. The real spirit dragon veins? How could there be such a thing? The real spirit dragon veins is a sacred item for cultivating the evil dragon divine body. Dark Suyu was shocked. He was more shocked by the real spirit dragon veins than he was by the 5-elemental strong thunder seal. Such a sacred item is only used as a weapon. This body is simply a reckless waste of God's gift. Dark Suyu opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of evil energy. A golden beast bone was floating in the evil energy. On the beast bone there were ancient words that could not be recognized. Back then, in order to obtain this evil dragon divine body, my body and soul were destroyed. I had to escape to the desolate domain. Now I only have a drop of my blood left. Dark Suyu spoke in a hoarse voice as he held the beast bone. Someone as powerful as he was only a drop of blood. Now I can only borrow this body and start cultivating again. The evil dragon divine body is the first divine body in history, and its cultivation method is unimaginable. In its early stages, it requires both spiritual energy and vital energy to cultivate at the same time. Although I obtained it in the past, my cultivation level was too high, so I could only look at it and lament my inadequacy. Now that I have occupied this half-fairy body, could it be that the heavens have decreed that I can cultivate the evil dragon divine body? After he spoke, Dark Suyu grabbed the real spirit dragon veins. He had obtained the evil dragon divine body many years ago, so he was already very familiar with it. As Dark Suyu weaved signs with his hands, he placed the real spirit dragon vein on his chest. Then, he activated his vital energy and spiritual energy at the same time. The two different types of energy coexisted in an extremely precise and subtle manner as they enveloped the real spirit dragon vein. At the same time, Dark Suyu activated the evil dragon divine body. Although the real spirit dragon veins rejected him slightly, they still gradually fused with his body. Bang bang, the internal blood energy channels in Suyu's body emitted a popping sound. The internal blood energy channels in Suyu's body turned from green to gold. After a long while, Dark Suyu slowly opened his eyes, which were filled with excitement. Ha ha ha, the first stage of the evil dragon divine body, the first dragon's body, has been successfully cultivated. Ha! Dark Suyu punched the air. His arms suddenly shone with a golden light, and the golden internal blood energy channels emitted a dazzling golden light. The punch, which clearly did not contain any spiritual energy or vital energy, was able to cause the space to collapse. With the first dragon's body, I can rely on my physical body to tear the space apart with a single hand. The evil dragon divine body is indeed extraordinary. Dark Suyu laughed crazily. He was extremely excited. I will soon be able to cultivate the evil dragon divine body back to my original state. Dark Suyu stood up and looked at the mountains and rivers in the distance. He laughed evilly. Ha ha! I have returned to the human world. I have to thank that gourd of flesh and blood. If not for that enormous amount of energy, I would not have been able to wake up from my slumber. Dark Suyu laughed. As a token of my gratitude, I will reluctantly replace this lad and become Suyu. I will take everything that he has, including that woman from the Divine Lady clan. That's a top-quality woman. Not only is her bloodline special, but I can use her after I devour her. Her Zhenyuan is also abnormally strong. If I can have sex with her, maybe my evil dragon divine body will reach another level. He actually wanted to disguise himself as Suyu and possess Xia Jingyu. With Xia Jingyu's trust in Suyu and her friendship with him, if this evil being could disguise himself well, Xia Jingyu would definitely not resist. Is that so? At that moment, an indifferent voice could be heard from Dark Suyu's soul. How is this possible? Your consciousness still exists? Didn't I already erase you? Dark Suyu was shocked. The moment he had awakened, he had mercilessly erased the soul of the original owner of this body and completely occupied it. Now it had appeared out of nowhere. In his mind, within the divine nine-dragon cauldron, Suyu was floating in the red liquid, his expression calm. This was Suyu's consciousness, Suyu's soul. Have you finally discovered my existence? At the last moment, in order to save Xia Jingyu, he had disregarded the Ghost King's warning and used the bloodline of the evil ghost. He had also absorbed all the energy from the flesh and blood of the Bai clan. In the end, he had obtained an unusually strong energy, but it had also awakened a mysterious consciousness that had forcefully occupied his body and erased his soul. Su Yu had always been a cautious person. Even if he had to take a risk, he would not be unprepared. In order to prevent his soul from being corroded by the evil energy, Su Yu's soul had entered the divine nine-dragon cauldron, leaving only a shred of consciousness outside to control his body. Surprisingly, it had awakened a mysterious and powerful consciousness that had never appeared before. It had erased the consciousness that Su Yu had left outside in an instant. If Su Yu had not held back, he would have been killed. It's fine that your consciousness still exists, but you still dared to show yourself. Dark Su Yu laughed coldly. Die. Buzz. A powerful soul attack engulfed Su Yu's head, destroying everything on the spiritual level. Clang. However, with a dull sound, the powerful soul attack seemed to have struck something powerful and was reflected back. What do you have in your soul? Dark Su Yu was shocked. Su Yu slowly stood up and stood in the divine nine-dragon cauldron. He said calmly, "Is that all? If that is the case, thank you for your hard work. I will take everything that you have for me." Dark Su Yu coldly snorted. "Even if I can't do anything to you for now, what can you do to me? In terms of soul strength, you are not even 1/100th of mine." "Is that so?" Su Yu's soul was surrounded by a long white dragon. He softly said, "The 18th level of hell. Soul." All of a sudden, the scenery around Dark Su Yu changed. The beautiful scenery had turned into a boundless sea of blood. It was filled with ghostly energy. It was bloody, gloomy, and filled with resentment. It was like the Avicii hell. "Is this your real body?" A drop of blood essence. Suddenly, a silver-haired figure floated in the air, looking down from above. "Is this your secret soul technique, the soul space?" "Impossible. I have used it before. How could it be so powerful?" A drop of blood essence floated in the air. It was the mysterious object hidden in Su Yu's body. Su Yu calmly said, "Do you think that without my permission, you can use my treasure to use the soul space?" The soul space relied on the divine nine-dragon cauldron. The divine nine-dragon cauldron was Su Yu's treasure. Without his permission, how could an outsider use the divine nine-dragon cauldron? Just now, he had only released some of his power when he saw Hong Luan's soul escaping. The true power of the soul space was not limited to this. Even the soul of the powerful Dark Su Yu had been sealed away. "Impossible! I can't be trapped!" Dark Su Yu roared as he attacked the space. All of a sudden, the whole space shook slightly, as if it was on the verge of collapse. Su Yu calmly said, "Don't waste your energy. The 18th level of hell, descend." Boom. Another 17 spaces descended and fused into one. No matter how Dark Su Yu attacked, the space remained motionless. "Suppress!" Su Yu shouted once again. The overlapping spaces shrank rapidly until they were the size of a cage, firmly sealing Dark Su Yu. "Rest in peace. I will take everything you have for you," Su Yu said calmly. As Dark Su Yu roared crazily, he floated away. When his soul returned to his body, an incomparably powerful feeling welled up in his heart. The power that Su Yu felt came from his body. The power of the first dragon's body was still fresh in Su Yu's mind. He could tear the space apart with one hand. It was terrifyingly powerful. Moreover, this was only the first stage of the evil dragon divine body. Su Yu made a grabbing motion with one hand, and the golden beast bone flew back into his palm. Su Yu revealed a gratified smile. Hee, that drop of blood essence really left behind an incredible treasure. The only unfortunate thing was that Su Yu did not recognize any of the words on it. He would only be able to recognize them if he checked some ancient books. Putting it away, Su Yu examined it again. The 5-elemental strong thunder seal had suppressed the thunder spirit. This was an unexpected surprise. Once he successfully refined it, it was hard to imagine what the true power of the prototype fairy artifact would be like. Next was the Ice Soul Divine Dream spell. After it had been refined, Su Yu felt a sense of dread. This spell had already surpassed the boundaries of an illusory spell. It had become a combination of an illusory spell and a killing spell. For a killing formation to be able to satisfy Dark Su Yu, one did not even need to think to know how powerful it was. Su Yu was very satisfied with his gains, especially the evil dragon divine body. The cultivation technique that he had sacrificed his life for had helped Su Yu in the end. However, Su Yu could not be happy, because he still had an even more important problem that he had not solved: the enormous amount of energy stored in his body. The cultivation and energy of the Bai clan's flesh and blood were enormous. Su Yu's body could not withstand it. It was only because of Dark Su Yu's evil energy that he was able to suppress it. Now that Dark Su Yu was being suppressed, the enormous amount of energy was gradually weakening. Once it exploded, Su Yu would be like a balloon. He would explode, and his body and soul would be destroyed. The outcome would be even more tragic than having his body taken over. The situation was not optimistic. This was an even greater danger than Dark Su Yu. Chapter 609. Sir. Sensing that Su Yu had entered, Wu Aoyue immediately rushed over with a delighted look on her face. Sir, let's talk about it later. How's the chaos multicolored butterfly? Su Yu interrupted her and asked directly. Wu Aoyue was startled, as she had never seen Su Yu treat her so coldly. She felt slightly uncomfortable, but she still obediently took out the jade box. Inside the jade box was a round and fat worm the size of a grain of rice. It was wriggling on the withered heavenly orchid silver bamboo. Holding the jade box in his hand, Su Yu threw away the heavenly orchid silver bamboo seedling that he had snatched back. Cultivate it again. After saying this, he immediately exited the 9 jade spiritual pearl. Looking at the space fluctuation that had disappeared, Wu Aoyue's mood sank. She took out a colorful armor from her pocket. It was soft and light like a cotton coat. The Thunder Herb armor had been successfully crafted. She had spent a lot of effort to craft it. Touching her pale face and looking at her red fingers, Wu Aoyue laughed at herself. I almost forgot my identity. I'm just a servant. How could I dare to call myself Master's friend? In order to complete it as soon as possible, she had worked day and night to finally craft the Thunder Herb armor. She had wanted to give Su Yu a surprise. What she got in return was Su Yu's indifference, as he came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Perhaps this was the true attitude that Su Yu should have towards her. While mocking herself, Wu Aoyue replanted the heavenly orchid silver bamboo seedling in the supreme growing soil nursery. However, her eyes were dull and listless. She did not know that Su Yu was facing a life-threatening crisis. Time was of the essence, so he had no time to care about her. After returning to his body, Su Yu opened the jade box without hesitation. Staring at the rice-sized worm, Su Yu's eyes shone brightly. It's up to you now. Don't disappoint me. The ancient spiritual worm, which had awakened from the heavenly orchid silver bamboo's seed, could even devour the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. Even a later stage fairy would not be able to destroy the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. Apart from it, Su Yu could not think of any other container that could contain the enormous energy in his body. Feeling the energy in his body start to riot, Su Yu's heart tightened. He grabbed the chaos multicolored butterfly and placed it on his finger. At the same time, under Su Yu's guidance, the enormous energy in his body flowed towards his fingers in an orderly manner. After 3 breaths, Su Yu's face became gloomy as he discovered that the chaos multicolored butterfly was not interested in him at all. It was lying lazily on his finger, motionless, and had no intention of absorbing his energy. Could it be that it was only interested in the energy of heaven and earth spiritual objects? As he thought of this, Su Yu's heart sank. At this moment, he could already feel a faint swelling pain in his fingers, a sign that he had accumulated too much energy. Su Yu's mind turned quickly, and he thought of all the ways he could use to transfer the energy. There was too much energy in his body, and it was not impossible for him to use divine abilities to vent the energy. But the problem was that the violent energy explosion was imminent, and he didn't have enough time. Before the energy was completely released, it would explode in a concentrated manner and cause Su Yu to explode. They could only transfer their energy to other living beings in an extremely short period of time. However, the chaos multicolored butterfly didn't seem to be interested. Just as Su Yu was getting anxious, the chaos multicolored butterfly suddenly moved. It turned its body over lazily and moved its lips towards Su Yu's finger. Instantly, the energy accumulated at the fingertip was sucked dry. Then it lay down again, lazily as ever. Su Yu was startled by this, but he soon understood. Is it because the energy accumulated at the fingertip is too little? Is that why it is too lazy to move? As he thought of this, Su Yu tried again. Sure enough, it was too lazy to move at first, and it only moved but when it could gather the energy to the maximum limit that its finger could bear. Then, it opened its mouth and sucked the energy before lying down lazily again. Upon seeing this, Su Yu's heart calmed down. He grabbed it and placed it on his abdomen. This was where the dantian was located, and it was where the energy was gathered. The lazy chaos multicolored butterfly's whole body became alert, and its seemingly clumsy round body turned over and stood up. Then, it wiggled its butt excitedly and stuck itself to Su Yu's abdomen. Then, it started sucking in the huge amount of energy that was constantly being released. In an instant, Su Yu felt that 10% of the excess energy in his body had been sucked away. Su Yu was quite surprised. Even 10% of the energy was equivalent to the energy of an early-stage fairy, but the chaos multicolored butterfly only needed a mouthful. Moreover, it was still far from being satisfied. As time elapsed, the energy in Su Yu's body was being sucked away by the chaos multicolored butterfly at a shocking speed. After 8 consecutive times, the chaos multicolored butterfly's body had become much bigger than before, and its body was covered in a faintly discernible green halo. After swallowing enough energy, the chaos multicolored butterfly started to change. However, what made Su Yu feel uneasy was that the chaos multicolored butterfly's swallowing speed was becoming slower and slower, and the last 20% of the energy had already started to explode. Slurp! The chaos multicolored butterfly swallowed the last 2 times, but only managed to swallow 10% of the energy. Then, it lay down lazily, and after a short while, it fell into a deep sleep and started digesting the huge amount of energy that it had just swallowed. As the last 10% of the energy had nowhere to go, it finally exploded within Su Yu's body. All of a sudden, the tyrannical energy filled Su Yu's limbs and bones like a volcano eruption. The tyrannical fluctuations were like a torrent. Wherever they passed, his flesh swelled up, and his internal energy channels were in acute pain. Su Yu's body also swelled up slightly, and the originally thin Su Yu now looked slightly chubby. Su Yu, who was already injured and weak, couldn't bear such a torment. After clenching his teeth for a moment, he groaned in pain and passed out. Before he passed out, he didn't forget to put away the bug and threw it into the 9-jade spiritual pearl. Thump! With a dull thud, dust flew everywhere, and Su Yu fell straight into the dust. His body was still expanding, and before Su Yu could wake up, his body would burst open. There was no one around, and Su Yu was the only one in a coma, enduring the impending death. Swoosh! However, at that moment, an ancient jade box suddenly flew out of Su Yu's chest. From the jade box, a very solid soul body floated out. Who else could it be but Yun Yazi? Sigh, am I being too harsh? Yun Yazi sighed softly, and with a wave of his hand, the energy that was wreaking havoc in Su Yu's body was forcibly expelled. The swollen Su Yu gradually returned to normal, and the painful look on his face gradually disappeared. Not long after, he regained his human color. His old palm brushed past Su Yu's body, and wherever it passed, all the injuries were healed, not even leaving a scar. In the twinkling of an eye, Su Yu's injuries had completely healed. When his palm brushed past Su Yu's head, Yun Yazi stopped, and a pensive look appeared on his face. The evil energy that is confined in my soul space seems familiar. Could it be the blood of that clan? It doesn't seem possible, as that clan should have already perished. Swoosh! Yun Yazi disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was in Su Yu's soul sphere, which was in the 18th layer of hell. Who is it? Evil Blood, who was still attacking the cage with all his might, suddenly detected a disturbance behind him. When he turned his head to take a look, he was startled. Who are you? How did you get in here? Evil Blood couldn't believe it, as this soul cage was extremely hard, yet the old man behind him had managed to enter it easily. It's really that clan's aura. I didn't expect that the evil god clan, which had already perished long ago, still had a remnant bloodline left in this world. It really surprises me. Yun Yazi seemed to have verified his guess, as he stroked his goatee and spoke slowly. Who are you? Why are you looking for me? Evil Blood was startled, as he couldn't believe that Yun Yazi was able to discern his origin just by observing his aura. Yun Yazi replied calmly, I'm this body's master, so why do you think I'm looking for you? Master? Evil Blood was slightly startled, as he didn't know that this body had such a mysterious and unfathomable master. What? Do you want to kill me? Evil Blood asked coldly. Yun Yazi stroked his goatee and said, I originally planned to do so to prevent future troubles, but after I ascertained your origin, I changed my mind. Rather than killing you, it would be better for me to leave a good fortune for my disciple, as he might be able to change his fate one day. Haha, change his fate? You want me to serve him? Dream on. Evil Blood laughed heartily. However, his laughter suddenly stopped, as Yun Yazi extended his finger and pointed it at Evil Blood. Evil Blood was instantly frozen, and he couldn't move at all. Evil Blood's consciousness was overwhelmed with shock. What kind of technique is this? Even though he was just a drop of evil blood, his soul was so powerful that even an all-creation old monster couldn't compare to him. Yet, this old man, who was also a soul body, was able to freeze him with just a single finger. In other words, he could annihilate him with a single move. Evil Blood's heart trembled, and fear welled up in his heart. Your Excellency, who are you? Yun Yazi calmly retracted his finger and said, You don't need to know who I am, as long as you do as I say. I will give you a chance in the future to reconstruct your fleshly body. What? Your Excellency, can you really help me reconstruct my fleshly body? Evil Blood asked in surprise. I never go back on my words, Yun Yazi calmly said. Evil Blood fixed his gaze on Yun Yazi's expression, and after hesitating for a while, he finally clenched his teeth and said, Fine. Tell me, how should I help this lad? Should I help him when he is in trouble? With me here, do you think that you still need to help him? Yun Yazi said, He can resolve his troubles by himself, and even if it is a life and death crisis, you don't need to help him. Evil Blood was startled, but he immediately understood Yun Yazi's intention. He couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. He was almost possessed by me, yet you didn't show up. Such a strict teacher is really rare. Your Excellency, aren't you afraid that he won't appreciate your good intentions and will hate you instead? You don't need to worry about that. If he really couldn't understand my painstaking efforts, I wouldn't have taken him as my disciple that day. I can still see through him. Yun Yazi flicked his sleeves and said, I only need you to do one thing for me. What is it? Evil Blood was curious. Yun Yazi said meaningfully, The thing that your evil god's bloodline is best at. Chapter 610. Forgive me for being blunt, but even you might not be able to bear it, let alone him. Your actions will only bring about his own destruction, the evil blood said. Yun Yazi laughed. Everything depends on his luck. If he can reach that stage, you can fulfill your promise. All right, but I hope you can fulfill your promise. Reconstructing your body must be an extremely difficult task for you, right? Yun Yazi smiled. I never go back on my promises. Just wait for the right time. After saying this, Yun Yazi withdrew from Su Yu's soul. Looking at Su Yu, who had fallen into a deep sleep, he thought for a moment, then casually threw out a light screen to envelop Su Yu. Su Yu, who had clearly been lying on the ground, disappeared after being enveloped. Only the soul could see a blurry figure where he had been. At the same time, Yun Yazi raised his hand and grabbed. Su Yu's 9 jade spiritual pearl flashed, and the little Kylan was taken out. Facing Yun Yazi, the little Kylan was extremely afraid. Its whole body was trembling, and it lay on the ground, not daring to move. Your spiritual intelligence is not bad. It seems like you can sense my aura. Yun Yazi placed it in the light screen. I have something to do, so I'll be back soon. Protect him for the time being. After saying this, Yun Yazi looked up at the top of the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion, then disappeared. The gap in the mysterious heavenly stage had been closed. The divine masters and the geniuses who had entered had all returned to the mysterious heavenly stage. Young old man weaved signs with both hands and retrieved the golden ring. Thank you for your hard work, Young Uncle Master, Lu Chui said as she helped from the side. Young old man nodded. No worries, however. His black and white eyes suddenly emitted 2 beams of light, one black and one white. He shouted in shock, "Who's there?" His shout made all the divine masters on the scene wary. Someone who could shock Young old man like this must be a powerful existence. Gu Taishu floated in the air, looking around but not noticing anything strange. Senior brother, what happened? Young old man looked around nervously, his chest heaving up and down, showing his panic. Junior brother, when I retrieved the golden ring just now, it seemed like a soul had rushed out. Very strong, the strongest I've ever seen in my life. Old man Young's voice trembled with fear. Gu Taishu's eyes narrowed slightly, and Lu Chui's expression turned grave as well. Senior brother, you must have felt the master's soul, right? Gu Taishu asked meaningfully. Old man Young understood what he meant and secretly transmitted his voice. Junior brother, we have to report this to master. If my Young I didn't sense wrongly, even master is inferior to him. Gu Taishu's pupils constricted. The true man of the purple cloud, an all creation's old monster, was not as powerful as that soul body. The 3 demon clan divine masters, including Zi Qianqiu, did not know what the 2 of them were talking about, but judging from their expressions, it seemed like an extremely terrifying soul had barged in. Could it be the evil being that destroyed Hong Luan's soul fragment? Someone muttered. This murmur caused the entire place to fall into a deathly silence. Gu Taishu and the Young old man looked at each other, and they both saw fear in each other's eyes. Perhaps only the soul body from just now could kill the split soul of an all-creation old monster. After remaining silent for a moment, Gu Taishu nodded his head deeply. His gaze then turned cold as he looked around. All right, the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion is closed. I believe that everyone has already returned. Even if he did not take the initiative to return, he would still be forcefully teleported back to the mysterious heavenly stage by the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. Now, Yu, tell me, who else can save you? Gu Taishu laughed coldly. Zi Qianqiu also regained his senses, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Humph. Yu, do you need us to invite you out? Surprisingly, the 2 opposing experts had a tacit understanding and did not argue. They knew all too well how cunning Yu was. Once they got into an argument, it would definitely cause chaos, and this kid would definitely find an opening to escape. Lu Chi's heart tightened. She had already been searching for Su Yu among the crowd, and her heart was burning with anxiety. Once he was discovered by Gu Taishu and Zi Qianqiu, his soul would surely be destroyed. At that time, should she have made a move? Gu Taishu's and Zi Qianqiu's men were already conducting a thorough investigation as they struggled internally. If their true bodies were to personally inspect, it would definitely not be as slow as it was on the mysterious heavenly platform. With a sweep of their gazes, no disguise could be hidden. Lu Chi's fingers dug into her palms, and her heart was in pain. However, as time passed, there was still no movement from either side. Lu Chi looked up curiously, and she was shocked. She saw that Gu Taishu and Zi Qianqiu's expressions were strangely similar. Shock, disbelief, indignation, and gloominess appeared on both of their faces at the same time. Young old man retracted his black and white gaze, and asked in confusion, "Where is he? Since the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion has ended, that kid should have been transported back." Gu Taishu was indignant, and he continued his inspection. However, after carefully observing everyone, he was sure that no one was Su Yu. His expression turned ugly. Could it be that he has already died in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion? When he had left, Hong Luan's soul had been present, and the possibility that he had been killed by Hong Luan's soul was too high. Moreover, after Hong Luan obtained the real spirit, she was killed by the evil being, and the real spirit might have been obtained by the evil being. That soul body just now, Young old man said. Hearing this, the expressions of all the divine masters present turned ugly. That evil being was too terrifying, and apart from Gu Taishu, no one else would dare to fight it head-on. If the real spirit had been obtained by the evil being, then all their efforts would have been in vain. At that moment, a weak voice came from the crowd. Wait, there might be another possibility. The person who had spoken was Young old man, and his eyes were filled with a thoughtful look. Before coming here, I borrowed the letters of the previous mysterious heavenly divine pavilions from the depository of Buddhist scriptures to understand some information. I accidentally read a piece of news from a disciple's letter. That disciple was a disciple from 100 years ago, and he had participated in the first mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. According to his recollection, when they participated for the first time, they encountered cultivators who were not from Jiuzhou. They claimed to be from the Zhenlong continent. Could it be that Su Yu is also from the Zhenlong continent, and was thus transported back to the Zhenlong continent instead of Jiuzhou? Hearing this, the crowd fell into deep thought. They recalled how Su Yu had killed their disciples without any scruples, and how he had openly sold their treasures. The crowd's hearts gradually turned cold. Perhaps he really was a cultivator from a foreign continent. If he is from the Zhenlong continent, then it will be troublesome, one of the demon faction's divine masters muttered. That place is located in the crevice between Jiuzhou and the ghost world, and it is a separate world. Even our divine masters are unable to cross the crevice to descend, so it is almost impossible for us to find that lad. His words caused Zi Qianqiu's face to turn gloomy. He is actually from that place. No wonder he dared to kill our demon faction's people. Zi Qianqiu hated Su Yu to the core, but he could do nothing to him after hearing that he was from the Zhenlong continent. The other god lords were either regretful or unwilling. All of them had different expressions. Even the expressions of many of the faction's fairy realm experts did not look too good. After all, Su Yu had killed many of their faction's disciples, and there were many of them who hated him. Knowing such a reality, it was easy to imagine how aggrieved and depressed they felt. Only Lu Chi was stunned. She pursed her lips and smiled secretly. This bad guy made me worry for nothing. What no one noticed was that when Gu Taishu heard the words Zhenlong continent, a strange light flickered in his eyes, and a cold smile flashed past his lips. Zhenlong continent, he. We will meet again very soon. Millions of mountains and rivers away. In a valley filled with flowers, the spring sun was shining brightly. This was the forbidden valley of the 18 blessed and heavenly lands, and it was called the 100 Flowers Valley. It was not because the valley was special, but because there was a terrifying existence living in it. It was the all-creation old monster, Inspector Hong Luan. Outside the valley, there were 10 divine masters who willingly submitted to her. They were willing to be her guards, and they were proud of it. However, this did not stop them from fawning over the all-creation old monster. Amidst the hundreds of flowers in the valley, a woman with an ordinary appearance sat cross-legged on a large tree. She was extremely charming. She was wearing a long, enchanting robe, and her chest and back were exposed. She was extremely charming, and even a single look at her could make any man fall into a trance. All of a sudden, a soul fragment passed through the valley. Swoosh! The enchanting woman grabbed the soul fragment, and her eyes were filled with shock. A soul fragment? Who did this? Filled with shock, the enchanting woman placed the soul fragment on her forehead. The soul fragment, which contained her memory, copied everything that had happened in the mysterious heavenly divine pavilion. What? An ancient spiritual body? The Divine Lady Clan? Moreover, it has a purity of 30%? The woman suddenly opened her eyes, which shone with shock and excitement. Then, her face fell. D*MN it was destroyed by a mysterious lad, and my soul fragment was destroyed. How dare he? The woman was furious, but suddenly she was slightly stunned. Wait, that evil energy seems to be similar to the legendary Evil God Clan. Her pretty eyes were filled with shock. If it is really that race, then, however, at that moment, an old man sighed in the valley. So what? Fortunately, I followed this soul fragment back. Otherwise, if this matter was exposed, it would be very troublesome. Who is it? The woman was shocked. Someone had entered the valley without her noticing. Creak! The space in front of her was suddenly torn apart, and an old man walked out of it. It was Yun Yazi, who had followed the soul fragment. This enchanting woman was, without a doubt, Hong Luan herself. A soul body. Hong Luan's pupils shrank and her eyelids twitched. Looking at the soul body in front of her, she felt as if she was facing an abyss, which made her feel extremely uneasy. May I ask who you are? Hong Luan asked seriously. Yun Yazi clasped his hands behind his back, and his expression was calm. Me? Su Yu's teacher. What? That lad's teacher? Hong Luan was extremely shocked. That lad actually had such a terrifying teacher?